Chapter 1373, Scandal 4. In that case, let's go in and take a look. Elder Shan said. He had spent so much effort, if he did not go in to take a look, wouldn't it be a waste of effort? Thinking of this, he pulled the second elder of the Yen clan and led the clansmen of the two clans towards his great elder's room. The door to the first elder's room was left ajar, but no one dared to push the door open immediately. Instead, they stood at the door and listened for a while. However, as the loud banging sounds in the room grew louder, they braced themselves and pushed the door open to enter. However, after they entered, they were all stunned. At this moment, the two first elders were entangled on the bed with their clothes in a mess. Some parts of their clothes were torn. The first elder of the Yen clan was on top of the first elder of the Hong clan, his hands firmly holding the first elder's hands. Their current appearance was as ambiguous as it could be. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell what they were planning to do with a single glance. Seeing this scene, everyone was speechless. Even some of the more timid ones were at a loss for what to do. Why did they have to see this? Would the two great elders kill them to silence them? Elder Shan, who had deliberately wanted the Yen clan to see the ambiguous relationship between the two elders, was also dumbfounded when he saw this unexpected scene. He didn't expect that the actions of the two great elders in the room would be so shocking. He didn't expect that his great elder would be the bottom. This was really too unacceptable. No matter what, he had to suppress the Yen clan's first elder. The people who entered the room had different thoughts at this time, but most of them were overthinking. The elders of the two families who were fighting on the bed obviously noticed that the situation was not right and quickly kept a certain distance from the other party. However, their actions made it seem like they were trying to hide something, which made people more suspicious. Damn it! Who let you in? When the first elder of the Hong family saw so many people in his room, he couldn't help but roar in anger. Arg! The great elder! I'm sorry. We came in because we heard the noise. You've made too much noise and we were afraid that something might have happened to you. Elder Shan quickly explained when he saw the unfriendly expression on his first elder's face. His heart was trembling with fear. So, it's our fault? The first elder of the Hong family said in an unpleasant tone. It wasn't it. It's our fault. You guys continue. With that, Elder Shan gave the people around him a look and they immediately left the first elder's room. After they went out, the Hong family members, led by Elder Shan, couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on their foreheads. Their little hearts were also trembling non-stop. So, it was really too dangerous. Second Elder Yen, thank you for helping us find the things. I think we should stop here for today. We'll look for it ourselves tomorrow, so we won't trouble you. Elder Shan looked at the second elder of the Yen clan and said, Okay, then we'll take our leave first. After the second elder finished speaking, he immediately took the head and left without looking back. PLs read on MIB0's Nov L. COM. After the Yen family left, Elder Shan said to the Hong family, You guys can also leave. Yes. The Hong family members said. Then they scattered. Elder Shan, it seems that our plan is quite successful. Seeing that there were only the two of them left, the Hong clan member softly asked. Shut up. You can't let anyone know about this. You have to keep it to yourself, or else the Grand Elder won't let us off. Elder Shan warned with wide eyes. Elder Shan, don't worry. I won't say anything. The clansmen promised and left in a hurry. After they had left, the two great elders Hong and Yen tidied up their clothes and walked out of the room. However, their expressions were not very good. Let's talk in the living room. Yen tribe's first elder suppressed his anger and cursed in his heart. Why did he start fighting with the old thing? Moreover, they were seen by so many people. Now, even if they had a mouth, they would not be able to explain themselves. Yes. The first elder of the Hong clan nodded and followed the first elder of the Yen clan to the living room. After the two of them sat down, neither of them spoke first. After a long time, the first elder of the Hong family, who had been silent all this while, finally couldn't help but speak up. What will it take for the Yen clan to release the Hong clan? State your conditions. Hee. When did First Elder Hong become so open? It's not easy to hear such words from you. The Yen clan's first elder said with a smile. Old man, do you want to talk or not? The first elder of the Hong family said in an extremely depressed manner. Of course we have to. Furthermore, we've already prepared a list of compensation. As long as your Hong family is prepared according to the list, I can return all the Hong family members to you. The Yen clan's first elder said with a faint smile. He also guaranteed that when the Hong clan's first elder saw the list, he would definitely be so angry that he would vomit blood. Only this. The Hong family's first elder asked in disbelief. This didn't seem to be what he had imagined. Why didn't the Yen clan treat their clan head's injuries as one of their conditions? This was really too unusual? Originally, he thought that he could use this condition to threaten the Yen clan to release the Hong clan members. But who knew that they didn't even mention this at all? When he thought of this, he felt a little uneasy. Yes. Yen tribe's first elder nodded, but he sneered in his heart, hee. Are you surprised by our conditions? It was simply a dream to use the family head as a hostage. Where's the list? The first elder of the Hong family suppressed the shock and dissatisfaction in his heart as he extended his hand to ask for more. Here you go. The Yen clan's first elder took out 2 thin pieces of paper from his storage ring and handed them over. The first elder of the Hong family took it and glanced at it. His eyes widened in disbelief. You guys are really demanding an exorbitant price. Do you think I'll give it to you? It's up to you whether to give it to me or not. However, if you don't pay the compensation in full, I won't hand the Hong family over to you either. So many Hong family members are going to die here. Can you bear to do that? The Yen clan's first elder warned with extreme caution. Chapter 1374, Scandal 5. What's there for me to be reluctant about? The Hong family doesn't lack people. The first elder of the Hong family pretended to be nonchalant. If that's the case, then I have nothing more to say. After saying that, the Yen clan's first elder stood up and walked out of the hall. However, he had only taken 2 steps when he was stopped by the Hong clan's first elder. Wait, is there no room for discussion? The first elder of the Hong family asked helplessly. To be honest, the compensation that the Yen family wanted was beyond his expectations. He really couldn't bear to part with it. However, the Hong family couldn't just ignore it. After all, most of the people who came with the family head were the elites of the Hong family. It wasn't easy to train these people. Moreover, if he really didn't care about the Hong family members, the main family would blame him if they found out. First Elder Hong, our Yen clan isn't the only one who wants this compensation. Your Hong clan has also done some other things and offended others. Furthermore, these people have done a favor for our Yen clan. They want us to help them ask for compensation. We can't just ignore it. The Yen clan's first elder said with a difficult expression. In other words, there was no room for discussion on this matter. What else did they do? The first elder of the Hong family quickly asked after hearing this. You'd better go and ask your Hong family. I really can't explain this matter clearly. How about I accompany you to the prison again? The Yen clan's first elder suggested. Although he said this, in his heart, he absolutely did not want this old man to go to the prison again. Yesterday, he went to the prison and wasted a day without any negotiations. Therefore, he must make this matter come true today. No need. You just need to tell me who the other person is. The first elder of the Hong family sighed and said helplessly. He did not want to go to the prison again. I'm sorry, I can't tell you. Elder Hong, come find me after you've thought it through and are willing to compensate. However, don't make me wait too long. After Yen clan's first elder finished speaking, he turned and left the drawing room. After the Yen clan's first elder left, the Hong clan's first elder sat alone in his chair, occasionally looking at the list in his hand, feeling pained. During this period, he called Elder Shan over and ordered him to make a trip to the prison to find out everything. After all, they were all in Hong City and did not know what had happened, let alone who they had provoked. Just as the first elder of the Hong family was deep in thought, Elder Shan, who had understood the situation, finally returned. Great Elder, I've asked clearly. The clan head and the elders once wanted to kill a woman and a team that discovered Hong Lian's scandal. It was also them who helped the Yen clan and captured our Hong clan. Otherwise, our Hong clan would not have fallen into the hands of the Yen clan. Elder Shan revealed everything he knew in anger. Where are those people staying now? The first elder of the Hong family asked after hearing what Elder One said. I don't know, but I heard that there seems to be a group of people living in Liuxiang residence. I don't know if they are the people that fifth elder and the others mentioned. Elder Shan said after some thought. Oh, go and find out more. The first elder of the Hong family instructed. P.L.'s read on Ebi0's novel. See ya, yes. Elder Shan responded and turned to leave. Not long after, Elder Shan walked into the living room again and said loudly, Great Elder, I've asked around. The person who lives in Liuxiang residence is indeed the person that the master and the elders once wanted to kill. I know you may leave. The Hong clan's head elder said softly, but he was extremely puzzled in his heart. Since the Hong clan wanted to kill him, why didn't they kill him earlier? They even let him help the Yen clan. So, what a bunch of useless trash. At the thought of this, he stood up and walked out. With Elder Shan in tow, the two of them arrived at Liuxiang residence. As soon as they entered the courtyard, the two saw a few men and women in their early 20s with extremely outstanding looks sitting on the stone chairs. At this time, they were gathered together and chatting. When they saw the uninvited guests, they did not show much emotion, not even the slightest surprise, as if they were just passers-by. Seeing the other party's calmness, the Hong family's first elder secretly praised him. Why didn't the Hong family have such an outstanding person? Although these people didn't seem to be very powerful, one could tell from their appearance that they were all smart people. Hello, everyone. In the first elder of the Hong family. Please forgive me for my presumptuous visit. The first elder of the Hong family greeted him very politely. First elder Hong, what's the matter? Ziyu asked with a faint smile. We are here to apologize. Before this, the Hong family has offended you many times. We hope that you will not hold it against them and forgive them this time. The Hong family's first elder said with an apologetic smile. Originally, according to his character, he would never lower his voice to anyone. However, now that he had a favor to ask of someone, he could not put on airs. Hence, his attitude was extremely good. Ziyu and the others looked at each other and looked at the first elder of the Hong family as if they were watching a joke. Then, Ziyu spoke on behalf of the others. First elder Hong, as long as you pay us the compensation, we will naturally let this matter go. Hey! Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. You should feel honored that our great elder is willing to come and apologize in person, yet you still dare to make so many requests. You really don't know what you're talking about. Before the first elder of the Hong family could reply, Elder Shan, who was beside him, jumped out and roared impatiently. Is this how first elder Hong apologizes? Ziyu rolled her eyes at Elder Shan, who had just spoken, and said in a cold tone, Elder Shan, shut up. Don't talk nonsense. The first elder of the Hong family reprimanded. Great elder! When has our Hong family ever taken other people's faces into consideration? These people clearly don't have any respect for our Hong family. Let me teach them a good lesson. After Elder Shan finished speaking, he directly released a light blue water attribute divine skill at Ziyu and began to fight. Seeing this, Ziyu smiled coldly. With a slight wave of his hand, the divine power that was flying towards him in the air fell to the ground. How is this possible? Elder Shan's face was filled with disbelief when he saw that his divine skill had been knocked away. The first elder of the Hong family beside him was even more furious. Who asked him to attack this incompetent and useless thing? Fortunately, he didn't hurt the other party. However, the pressure that Ziyu released after that made even his heart tremble. This kind of strength clearly did not belong to the divine mainland. He immediately concluded that the other party was someone from the divine world who had concealed his strength, so he was even more careful. Then, a crisp "pa" sound was heard. Elder Shan was slapped on the face. The force of the slap was so strong that it knocked him to the ground. Elder Shan, who was dazed, could not react at all except to sit on the ground in a daze. After that, The first elder of the Hong family said to Ziyu and the others apologetically, "Everyone, I'm sorry. Elder Shan's mind is a bit unclear. I hope you don't take it to heart. First Elder Hong, you first hoped that we wouldn't be calculative with the Hong family, and now you're telling us not to stoop to this elder's level. Why did you say all these things?" Yu Qing sneered and then continued, "It's fine if you don't want us to haggle over it. As long as you pay the compensation we want, the debt between us will be settled. Otherwise, I can't guarantee the fate of the Hong family members who are locked up in the prison." The first elder of the Hong family didn't expect that the other party would not give him any face. However, in fear of Ziye's pressure, he didn't dare to say anything to annoy the other party. He only secretly hated his own family's poor judgment. Of all the people they could provoke, why did they have to provoke such a difficult enemy? Wasn't this forcing the Hong family to a dead end? "First Elder Hong, you can go back now." Ziyu laughed and asked him to leave. "Then we'll take our leave first." The first elder of the Hong family said helplessly after a long silence. Then he helped Elder Shan, who had been sitting on the ground in a daze, up and left Liuxiang residence with a depressed heart. Chapter 1375. Sneak Away, 1. After the Hong clan's great elder left, he locked himself in his room for a few days and did not come out. The Yen clan's great elder had sent people to invite him many times, and he had personally gone to look for him. However, he had always been blocked by the Hong clan's people, saying that the great elder was considering something. This could not help but make the Yen clan's great elder, who had returned empty-handed, feel quite depressed. Not only that, the scandal between him and the first elder of the Hong family had been spreading more and more fiercely these few days. There were even people who said that the first elder of the Hong family was the one who suffered. Although such rumors gave him a headache, his mood was much better when he heard someone describe the old man of the Hong family as a submissive. However, it wasn't good for the old man to keep avoiding him, right? Could it be that he had to continue to provide for the Hong family in vain? Thinking of this, he sent a guard to pass on his order. From now on, the Hong family was cut off from food. After all, the two families weren't friends now, and they had lived here for so long. Therefore, they wouldn't be entertained. If they wanted to eat, they could buy it with their own money, cook it themselves, or get the ingredients to be cooked by the kitchen. When the Hong family members heard this news, their noses almost went crooked from anger. What the hell is this? Why were the Yen family members becoming more and more stingy? In the past, when they had a good relationship with the Yen family, they wouldn't say anything even if they stayed for a year or so. But now, they had only stayed for a few days, and they were already complaining that they were idle. This was really too much. Following that, the Hong clan's elder Shan led the team to find the Yen clan's first elder to reason with him. "Great Elder Yen, what do you mean by this? They actually cut off our food? How could you do such a thing?" Elder Shan roared angrily. "What's wrong? Is there a problem?" The Yen clan's first elder sat on a chair and sipped his tea, his tone extremely cold as he asked. He did not even lift his eyelids. "Of course there's a problem. You're a guest, and the Yen clan should treat you well. How can you let us prepare our own food? Could it be that your Yen clan is so poor that you don't even have the money to prepare food for us?" Elder Shan's face was flushed red as he questioned loudly. "You also know that our family head was injured by your great elder. In order to treat our family head's injury, we have spent a lot of money, and you have been eating and living for so many days. We really can't afford to feed you. However, considering the friendship between our two families, I can continue to provide you with the accommodation for free and won't charge you money, but you have to find a way for the food yourself." The Yen clan's first elder said with a difficult expression. "Elder Shan, the members of our Yen clan have been eating without a next meal, AI. We're all waiting for your Hong family's compensation to buy rice to cook." An elder immediately chimed in and even exaggeratedly wiped his eyes. In order to cooperate with his words, all the elders present sighed and looked worried. Seeing the Yen family's behavior, Elder Shan was so angry that he couldn't speak. Seeing Elder Shan's face turn from white to red, and then from red to black, Yen tribe's first elder laughed in his heart, but he still said with a serious face, Elder Shan, if you're afraid of trouble, you can also pay us for your food. We'll be able to prepare food for you every day like before. No need to worry. We will prepare our own food, Elder Shan said in an unpleasant tone. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left angrily. Looking at the back view of the Hong family, the Yen family's first elder and the others couldn't help but laugh. PL's read on MYB0's Nov L. COM, second elder, send someone to keep an eye on them. Report to me immediately if there's any sign of trouble. The Yen clan's first elder instructed, and after he finished speaking, he stood up and left. 3 days later, the first elder of the Hong family, who had been hiding in his room, finally came out. Moreover, as soon as he came out, the Yen clan's first elder's men immediately arrived. Looking at the haggard face of the first elder of the Hong family, the first elder of the Yen family chuckled and said, "First elder Hong, what's wrong? I haven't seen you for a few days. How did you become so dispirited?" "When did I?" "You're wrong." The first elder of the Hong family suppressed his anger and said in a low voice. Seeing this guy as soon as he left the room, his mood became even worse. Moreover, Elder Shan, who originally wanted to complain to him, didn't have the chance to speak. He could only keep winking at him. That's not important. I'm just here to ask if First Elder Hong has considered it. It's been so many days, I'm getting impatient. The Yen clan's first elder said with a sincere expression. Great Elder Yen, you've asked for so many things at once. You should at least let me think about it. The first elder of the Hong family, who was also a little impatient, said in a bad mood. First Elder Hong, you have to think about it carefully. Once you've thought it through, you'll have to spend time preparing these things. I want to ask, when will the compensation we want be delivered to us? The Yen clan's first elder frowned and asked curiously. We're not in a hurry, so why are you? Elder Shan couldn't help but roar when he heard the Yen clan's first elder's words. You are in debt, of course you are not in a hurry. But we're anxious. Also, don't forget that there are still many people from your Hong family locked up in prison. Don't they need to eat every day? The longer we delay, the more our Yen clan will have to pay. So, if you don't pay the compensation quickly, and they starve to death in prison, don't blame me. The Yen clan's first elder indifferently reminded. What's the meaning of this? The first elder of the Hong family quickly asked when he heard that something was wrong. What I mean is, if you don't pay the compensation quickly, our Yen family won't be able to afford their meals. The Yen clan's first elder said with an evil smile. In fact, from the day he cut off the food for Elder Shan and the others, he had also ordered that the Hong clan members in the prison cell would only be given 1 meal a day. He felt that he had already done his best. After all, they were enemies. You, the first elder of the Hong clan, whose face was flushed red, was a little angry after hearing the first elder of the Yen clan's words. However, he couldn't say anything, nor was he in any position to criticize him. After all, the relationship between the two clans was no longer the same as before. First Elder Hong, quickly make your decision. It's not good for us to drag this on. Yen tribe's first elder urged. Good. Since you've said so, I have something to say as well. The first elder of the Hong family said. Chapter 1376, Sneak Away, 2. What do you have to say? The Yen clan's first elder, whose face was filled with question marks, couldn't help but ask. The compensation you want is too much. I want to change it. The first elder of the Hong family suggested. I'm sorry, I can't change it. I've said it before, that's not the compensation that our family is asking for. Yen tribe's first elder's face was filled with stubbornness, and there was no room for discussion. Let me finish. The first elder of the Hong family roared. All right, then tell me. Yen tribe's first elder was extremely helpless. He wanted to see what this old thing had to say. I request that the compensation be reduced by half. The first elder of the Hong clan had just started to speak when he was interrupted by the first elder of the Yen clan. No, not a single cent less. The Yen clan's first elder didn't give first elder Hong a chance to continue speaking and said straightforwardly. What a joke, not all of those things were what the Yen clan wanted. If he reduced it by half, wouldn't the Yen clan have to bleed a lot again? According to his original intention, he wanted the Hong family to help them share the burden of the compensation. Hence, the Hong family had to pay the full amount. Let me finish. The first elder of the Hong family couldn't take it anymore and shouted at the top of his voice. Then he continued, "What I mean is, we'll only pay half of the compensation. In addition, you'll be responsible for treating your family head's injuries. That should be fine, right?" This was a compromise that he had thought about for a few days. He knew that if he only said that he would cure Master Yan's injury and did not mention any compensation, the Yen family would definitely not agree. Therefore, they would have to pay the blood, and now it was only a matter of how much. First Elder Hong, the compensation we ask for cannot be any less. Yen clan's first elder said with a faint smile. Sure enough, as he thought, this old thing actually used the family head's illness as a threat. If the family head's injury had not been cured long ago, he would have agreed to the Hong family's request even if he was not willing. You don't want to treat your master's injuries? After hearing the Yen clan's first elder's words, the Hong clan's first elder's face was filled with disbelief. According to the news he had received, the Yen clan had put in a lot of effort and racked their brains for the sake of their clan head's injuries. Now that he had taken the initiative to offer treatment, they would rather compensate him than accept his conditions. This made him a little at a loss. He had thought about it for a few days before coming up with this compromise. He thought it was almost certain, but he didn't expect the other party to reject it. This made him a little confused and didn't know what to do. Seeing the stunned look on the Hong clan's first elder's face, the Yen clan's first elder felt extremely happy. The feeling of not being threatened by others was really good because their Yen clan had suffered quite a bit from the Hong clan recently. Therefore, seeing the Hong clan's first elder being suppressed, he felt extremely pleased in his heart. First Elder Hong, I actually wanted to say that we will think of a way to treat our patriarch's injuries ourselves, so there's no need for First Elder to worry. You just need to prepare the compensation we need. You can't miss a single thing. Of course, you can also choose to give up on these elites of the Hong family. Yen tribe's first elder deliberately provoked. From the Hong family's hesitant attitude, he knew that the Hong family had no intention of giving up on these people. It wasn't hard to understand. 8% of the people that the Hong family's head had brought were elites. If the Hong family decided to give up on these people, the Hong family would never be able to stand on the godly mainland. This was not a blow that the Hong family could take. Great Elder Yen, I know that our Hong family has offended you many times recently, but our two families have been friends for so many years. Can't you be magnanimous and let us off? The first elder of the Hong family played the emotional card again. Piels read on AB0's Nov.L. First Elder Hong, did your Hong family not consider the many years of friendship between our two families when you were doing these things? Do you think it's useful to say this now? The Yen clan's first elder said with a look of disdain. This was the way the Hong family dealt with people. They had two completely different attitudes towards others and themselves. If others did not do what they liked, it was the other person's fault. However, even if they did something that everyone pointed fingers at, they would still think that they could be forgiven. How could there be such a good thing in the world? It was simply nonsense. Isn't it all because of the marriage of the next generation? The children are insensible, do we really have to argue with them? The Hong clan's first elder's face was completely red as he stammered. Of course, he knew that his clan was in the wrong. However, at this moment he would rather die than admit it. Otherwise, their Hong clan would forever be controlled by the Yen clan. Are kids that easy to use as excuses? If a child of the Yen clan were to kill the head of your Hong clan, can we also say that the child is insensible and ask you to not hold it against him? Yen tribe's first elder raised his eyes and asked indifferently. The first elder of the Hong family did not expect the other party to use his own words to shut him up. He was at a loss for words. First Elder Hong were not fools. It's better to be straightforward. Don't use this to bully others. The Yen clan's first elder warned very seriously. You're really not willing to let our Hong family off the hook? The first elder of the Hong family asked, unwilling to give up. First Elder Hong, let me put it this way. Even if we agree, I won't be able to explain it to the others. Moreover, they've done a favor for our Yen clan. I can't possibly be ungrateful. The Yen clan first elder tactfully refused. A favor? What favor? I only helped you when our two families were killing each other. Besides, as far as I know, you should have some enmity with each other. Isn't your Ling still in their hands? Since you can bury the hatchet, why can't our two families do the same? The Hong clan's first elder gritted his teeth. The reason why he said this was to remind the Yen clan's first elder that the other party was not friends with them. First Elder Hong, this is different. Our Yen family was in the wrong first. If he is willing to forgive us, we have no reason not to agree. As for Ling, she only has herself to blame. Even if she dies in the hands of the other party, she can't blame anyone else. Moreover, you have also seen the other party's strength. The Yen clan's first elder nonchalantly said. Chapter 1377, Sneak Away 3. Could it be that you're afraid of the other party's strength? The first elder of the Hong clan was surprised. Although the other party was most likely from the divine realm, it was not as if the two clans did not have any backers in the divine realm. He could not understand why the Yen clan would be afraid of the other party's strength. Of course not. I've said it before. We owe them a debt of gratitude. The Yen clan's first elder said in a light voice. What kind of favor? The first elder of the Hong family asked, unwilling to give up. Please forgive me for not being able to comment. First Elder Hong, we only need to talk about the compensation. You don't need to worry about anything else. The Yen clan's first elder did not want to talk about this issue anymore, so he directly said, as for compensation, the first elder of the Hong family had only said a few words before he was interrupted again. Not a single cent less. The Yen clan's first elder reminded with a smile. He was in a good mood. Great Elder Yen, don't push me too far. If you push me too far, I'll invite the people from the main family of the divine world. Let's see what you'll do then. Seeing that the soft approach didn't work, the Hong family's first elder could only use the hard approach. Is first elder Hong threatening me? I'm so scared. Yen tribe's first elder pretended to be afraid and then snorted, You know to ask the main family to support you, but do you think I don't know? Originally, I didn't want to alarm the main family, but if you want the main family to know that we've caused such a ruckus, then you can go ahead and invite them. Although the Yen clan had a main family in the divine world, the main family was still the main family. Other than the fact that they had to hand over a certain amount of items to the main family every 100 years in exchange for resources that were not available on the divine continent, they were basically self-sufficient. If they provoked a strong enemy, not only would the main family not stand up for them, but they might even abandon them. This was one of the main reasons why they were kind to others and were unwilling to make enemies. Although the great elder of the Hong family had used the main family in the divine realm to threaten them, he believed that the Hong family in the divine realm would not easily meddle in the affairs of their branches. Unless there were enough benefits, the people of the main family might still be willing to stand up for them. However, the appetites of the people of the main family would definitely not be less than them. Therefore, he believed that as long as the great elder of the Hong family was not stupid, he would not be willing to disturb the main family. The truth was just as the Yen clan's first elder had expected. The Hong clan's first elder was indeed unwilling to alert the main clan because of this matter. The reason he had brought the main clan out was just to scare the other party. However, the Yen clan's first elder did not fall for it. This made him extremely depressed. Seeing that the Hong clan's first elder was silent for a long time, the Yen clan's first elder slowly opened his mouth and said, First Elder Hong, I know that you feel that we're asking for too much and that your heart is aching. However, you didn't even think about it. If we take these things away, the debt between us will be settled. In the future, as long as your Hong clan doesn't take the initiative to provoke us, our Yen clan will naturally not provoke you. But if you let the main family know about this, the benefits of them standing up for you will not be less than the compensation we want. Moreover, Can you guarantee that they will be satisfied just once? The main family's appetites are much bigger than ours. This time, in order to treat the family head's injury, I don't know how many good things I've sent to the main family. Until now, there has been no news from the main family. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid that all the things I've sent have gone to waste. Do you want to be like me? I think it's better for us to solve this matter ourselves. Our Yen family spent a lot of money to treat Master's injury, and you were the one who caused it, so you can't deny the compensation. If you think that it's not a loss to invite the main family to deal with us, then I have nothing to say. Goodbye. If you've made up your mind, then come and find me. The Yen clan's first elder said earnestly, and then left without looking back. Looking at Yen clan's first elder's back, and then at the silent first elder, Elder Shan couldn't help but say, "First elder, what do we do now?" PLs read on IB0's Nov L. COM, Elder Shan, what's your opinion? The first elder of the Hong family had no one to discuss with, so he asked Elder Shan. Elder Shan was extremely excited when he heard first elder's question. The great elder actually asked for his opinion. This was really like the sun rising from the west. One should know that in the eyes of the Hong family's master and the elders, he was a brainless person. Therefore, they would not discuss anything important with him. However, he did not expect that the great elder, who had always looked down on him, would actually ask for his opinion. He was so excited that he was speechless. Elder Shan, what's your opinion? Seeing that Elder Shan's face had turned red and he did not speak for a long time, the great elder could not help but repeat loudly. In his heart, he was scolding him. What a shameful thing. He asked him for his opinion, but he could not say a word for a long time. He was very angry, so he naturally did not think that Elder Shan was so excited that he could not speak. Arg! The great elder! You should ask for my opinion. Elder Shan, who had finally reacted, said in a daze. Nonsense, I'm asking you of course. The first elder of the Hong family said in an unpleasant tone. Great elder! I feel that the old man from the Yen clan's words aren't without reason. The main clan is indeed a bottomless hole that can't be filled. Unless you decide not to care about the life and death of the clan head and the others, we can't not pay this compensation. First elder, money is just a worldly possession. As long as the family head and the others are safe and sound, what's the big deal with losing some money? After 100 years or so, our Hong family will be able to recover its strength. However, if we really invite the main family, I really don't dare to imagine what kind of consequences that would be. Of course, if you are like the family head and have the intention of destroying the Yen family, then please ask the main family to send someone over. Elder Shan thought for a moment before speaking in a very serious manner. His words made the first elder of Hong family, who had always looked down on him, cast a sidelong glance at him. Suddenly, the first elder looked at Elder Shan in a different way, because he had never dreamed that Elder Shan could say such philosophical words. It was really beyond his expectation. Seeing that the great elder had not spoken for a long time and only stared at him, Elder Shan was a little afraid. Did he say something wrong, so the great elder was a little angry? So, he was just spouting nonsense. At the thought of this, Elder Shan pulled a long face and said with some fear, Great elder, don't be angry. I'm just talking nonsense. Just treat it as my words are farts. Chapter 1378, Sneak Away for Nonsense? How could this be considered nonsense? Elder Shan, you're right AI. If the head of the family could think like you, our relationship with the Hong family wouldn't be in this state. The first elder of the Hong family sighed. However, his praise was like a bolt of lightning to Elder Shan, who was struck dumb. Seeing that Elder Shan had once again fallen into a daze, the first elder of the Hong family helplessly shook his head and turned to leave. Elder Shan remained standing in his original spot in a daze, muttering to himself, First elder actually praised me. I'm so happy. At this moment, the Yen family's first elder, who had left the guest courtyard where the Hong family lived, came to Liuxiang residence with a pounding heart. The moment he entered the courtyard, he saw Leng Ruoxue and the rest sitting there. When she saw him, Leng Ruoxue smiled and asked, Why is Yen tribe's first elder here? Miss Ling, I have something to discuss with you, the Yen clan's first elder said with some difficulty. Then, he repeated the conversation he had with the Hong clan's first elder to Lung Ruoxue and the rest. Lung Ruoxue was silent for a moment before she slowly opened her mouth. What is the status of the Hong clan in the Divine Realm? Although the Hong clan cannot be considered as a top-notch clan in the Divine Realm, it is still a first-rate clan. Its strength is slightly stronger than the main clan of our Yen clan. The Yen clan's first elder explained. Isn't the Yen clan a dark clan? The strength on the surface might not be comparable to the Hong family, but if you add the strength in the dark, it should not be inferior to the Hong family. Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. How does Miss Lung know that our Yen clan is a dark clan? The Yen clan's first elder's face was filled with surprise. It seemed that this person already knew the Yen clan's background like the back of his hand. In reality, he was overthinking things. Other than knowing that the Yen family was a dark family, Lung Ruoxue didn't know much about the Yen family situation. However, Lung Ruoxue naturally wouldn't tell him the truth. She only smiled and said, I naturally have my own channels. Ah. The Yen clan's first elder understood that Lung Ruoxue had no intention of telling him. Hence, he tactfully did not pursue the matter. Young Lady Lung, if the Hong family really found someone from the main family, how should we deal with them? The Yen clan's first elder added. Instead of seeking help from the main clan, he would rather seek help from Lung Ruoxue and the others. From his point of view, Lung Ruoxue was much easier to talk to than the main clan. Furthermore, they were allies on the same vine. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. Even if the Hong family managed to get the help of the main family might not send too many experts. Furthermore, the people from the divine world can only display the strength of a high-level deity on the divine mainland. What are you afraid of? Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. That may be the case, but even if the people of the divine realm can only display the strength of a high-level deity, they are still not someone we can deal with. They don't even need to make a move, just a pressure from them is enough to make us unable to withstand it. The Yen clan's first elder couldn't help but ask. First Elder Hong won't ask their main family to do it, so you can rest assured. After Lung Ruoxue heard the Yen clan's first elder's words, she laughed indifferently. That old man was quite shrewd. If he knew what was best for him, why would he do such a stupid thing? PLs read on AB0's Novo. Since Miss Lung is so confident, then I can rest assured. Yen clan's first elder said. After he finished speaking, he exchanged pleasantries with Lung Ruoxue and the rest for a while before he stood up and bade farewell. After the Yen clan's first elder left, Yuqing looked at Lung Ruoxue and asked curiously, Miss, the Hong family really want to ask their main family to make a move? The first elder of the Hong clan will definitely not be invited. As for the others, it's hard to say. However, after the Hong clan has compensated the Yen clan with the items they requested, I'm afraid that the Hong clan won't have the chance to ask the main clan for help. Lung Ruoxue said. During the few days she had stayed at the Hong family, she had basically asked Green Vessel to find out what good things the Hong family had. Otherwise, she would not have written such a list. It was obvious that she wanted to extort the Hong family. Oh, even if the Hong family has invited the main family, we're not afraid. It's a good opportunity to exercise. Yuqing said with a smirk. We just need to wait and see. Lung Ruoxue nodded. The next day, the Hong clan's first elder personally went to find the Yen clan's first elder and said that he was willing to compensate according to the list. However, it would take a few days before the items could be delivered to the Yen clan. The first elder of the Yen family expressed his understanding after hearing this. However, he also made it clear that the Hong family would return to the Zhao family in one piece when the Hong family had prepared everything. 3 days later, the Hong family had finally prepared all the things they wanted to compensate. In the living room of the Yen residence, the Yen clan's first elder was extremely pleased to see the Hong clan's first elder hand over the storage ring to him with a pained expression. However, as the saying goes, blood brothers settle accounts clearly. Therefore, he still had to compare the contents of the list one by one. Seeing that the first elder of the Yen clan was actually checking them one by one, the mouths of the Hong clan members twitched. Many of them were cursing in their hearts. Was there a need to check so carefully? Could it be that their Hong family would lack something from them? After a long time, the Yen clan's first elder finally finished his inspection, and he beamed at the Hong clan's first elder. Yes, everything is not missing. Since there's nothing wrong with the item, then let him go. The first elder of the Hong family twitched his mouth and said helplessly, "Second elder, go to the prison and get him." The Yen clan's first elder nodded and instructed the second elder sitting beside him. "All right," he said. The second elder of the Yen clan nodded and then left the living room. Not long after, the second elder of the Yen clan brought in the locked-up master of the Hong clan and the others. Everyone from the Hong family was excited when they saw their first elder. The master of the Hong family was about to say something to the first elder, but the first elder didn't even look at him. He stood up and ordered Elder Shan to take the master and the others away. However, before he could leave, he was stopped by the Yen clan's first elder. "What else do you have to say?" The first elder of the Hong family said in an unpleasant tone. "First elder Hong, calm down. I know you're not in a good mood, but there's something I think you should know." The Yen clan's first elder said indifferently. Chapter 1379, Sneak Away 5, What is it? The first elder of the Hong family was puzzled. Hadn't he already paid the compensation? What else is there? It's about the scandal between the two of us. The Yen clan's first elder calmly said. Didn't I say that this has nothing to do with me? The first elder of the Hong family roared in anger. Fuck, why did he want to blame everything on him? It's not related to you, but it's related to your Hong family. The Yen clan's first elder said with a smile that was not a smile. His gaze then drifted over to Elder Shan, who was standing beside the Hong clan's first elder. Originally, when he heard the Yen clan's first elder's words, Elder Shan's heart was already beating with fear. Now that he received the other party's gaze, his heart began to beat irregularly and madly. Wasn't the matter already resolved? The Yen clan had also gotten what they wanted, so why did they still mention this matter? He did it on purpose. That old man from the Yen clan was definitely doing this on purpose. He couldn't help but curse in his heart, and subconsciously lowered his head. Who is it related to? The first elder of the Hong family said angrily. He dared to say that he was the submissive he really didn't want to live. If he knew who this person was, he would definitely skin him alive. He thought to himself with hatred. This person is far away but right in front of you. He's Elder Shan, who's beside you, the Yen clan's first elder said with a kind smile. It's you. After hearing the Yen clan's first elder's words, the Hong clan's first elder turned to glare at Elder Shan and questioned angrily, Fuck. He did not expect that the person who claimed to be the receiver would be Elder Shan. Initially, he had a slight change of opinion of Elder Shan. However, because of this, Elder Shan's opinion of him had returned to its original state. Great Elder, I'm innocent. Elder Shan said with a pitiful and bitter face. First Elder Hong, you only need to ask Elder Shan's trusted aide and you'll know if he's innocent or not. Yen tribe's first elder suggested, and his words made Elder Shan gnash his teeth in hatred. I'll settle the score with you when we get back. The first elder of the Hong clan angrily said. After he finished speaking, he left the Yen residence's living room without looking back and directly walked out of the courtyard. First elder, listen to me. Elder Shan chased after him with a look of fear. Seeing this, the other members of the Hong family quickly followed. They didn't want to come to the Yen residence anymore. After the Hong family left, the second elder of the Yen family looked at his first elder with a puzzled expression and said, First elder, Elder Shan ordered people to spread those rumors. Why did you let him off just like that? What else can I do? The Hong family just bled a lot. Do you think you can still squeeze any profit out of them? Moreover, that old thing from the Hong family won't let him off easily. The Yen clan's first elder said in understanding. Although he was rumored to have an affair with the Hong clan's first elder, fortunately, he was not said to be the submissive. Otherwise, he would definitely not let Elder Shan off. Now, he would leave Elder Shan to First Elder Hong to deal with. PLs read on Abizero's Novo. Co. That's true. The second elder of Yen tribe nodded. Then, the Yen clan's first elder stood up and walked towards the main courtyard where the clan head was. After finding the clan head, the two of them went to Liuxiang residence where Leng Ruoxue and the others were. As she looked at the two middle-aged men walking in hand, Leng Ruoxue was very clear that the one she had not seen before was the patriarch of the Yen clan. Miss Leng, this is our master. The great elder explained. After a few days of closed-door cultivation, the patriarch had made a breakthrough. His strength was now at the advanced level of the advanced deity stage, which was considered one of the top in the divine mainland. Therefore, the Yen clan naturally had no need to fear the great elder's strength. Congratulations to Yen family head for recovering from your injuries and even achieving a breakthrough. Leng Ruoxue said courteously. This was all thanks to Miss Leng's cold frost pill. Otherwise, I would still be lying in bed now. Our Yen clan has been too slow in this period of time. The Yen clan head said apologetically after expressing his gratitude. When he saw Leng Ruoxue and the rest, he finally understood what it meant by, hearing is false, seeing is believing. It was true that one's reputation was not as good as seeing in person. His second son and great elder's descriptions simply couldn't express the shock he felt when he first met these people. How could his blind eldest son and granddaughter provoke such people? Fortunately, their Yen family was tactful and didn't reject the other party's conditions. Otherwise, the consequences would really be unimaginable. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Yen family head is too polite. Although our fate originated from hatred, now we are all happy. Your Yen family knows how to conduct itself, so I naturally won't take out my anger on you for Yen Ling heirs matter. Leng Ruoxue promised. As for whether or not the Yen clan would have any enmity with her, that was not within her jurisdiction. However, she believed that as long as the Yen clan wasn't stupid, they wouldn't hold a grudge against her just because of Yen Ling. If that was the case, they wouldn't be willing to sacrifice Yen Ling in order to have a good relationship with them. I know that Miss Leng is a forthright person, and Ling can be considered to have brought this upon herself, so she can't blame anyone else. I really hope to be friends with Miss Leng. The Yen clan head immediately expressed his attitude. At the same time, he took the initiative to hand over the compensation that Leng Ruoxue had requested. Miss Leng, the compensation you want is all inside. Please take a look. The patriarch of the Yen clan said. I trust the Yen clan's credibility. Leng Ruoxue received the storage ring from the Yen clan's clan head. Without even looking at it, she passed it to Ziyu for safekeeping. Miss Leng, Yen Kuan, the city lord of Yenbei City, and I are considered good friends despite our age difference. I wonder who you are with him, the Yen family head asked curiously. However, he did not finish his sentence and looked at Leng Ruoxue with anticipation. We are neighbors. Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. She didn't really want others to know about her relationship with Yen Kuan. Therefore, even though her words weren't completely true, they could still be considered true. After all, Nightmare Forest and Northern Yen City were indeed neighbors. Then may I know which city young miss is from? The Yen clan had asked again. He knew that there were 4 small cities closest to Northern Yen City. Since this Miss Leng said that she was a neighbor of Northern Yen City, then the city she lived in should be one of the 4 cities. He secretly guessed. I live in the Nightmare Forest, Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. The Yen clan master and the great elder let out a cry of surprise at the same time. They all thought to themselves, did they hear wrong? Miss Leng said that she was living in the Nightmare Forest? Wasn't that place occupied by someone a few years ago? It was said that the person who claimed that place was very powerful, and even the Ning family, the leader of the 8 great divine regions, recognized their status. From this, it could be seen how difficult it was to provoke the new master of the Nightmare Forest. However, the Yen family had always liked to keep a low profile, so they did not go there with the other forces at that time. Naturally, They did not know what had happened there and why many forces had kept quiet about it since then. However, the new master of the forest was not easy to provoke. Words like these were still widely spread across the divine continent. "Miss Lung, is that your territory?" the Yen clan head asked. "Yes, I am." Lung Ruoxue nodded her head, not denying it. "This old master truly admires you for daring to set up your own territory there." The Yen clan's first elder's eyes lit up as if he had just seen his idol. One must know that not just anyone could occupy that place. For so many years, many forces had coveted that place. However, no one had managed to occupy it. As for Lung Ruoxue, she was able to gain the recognition of all the forces. From this, it could be seen that her methods were not ordinary. Fortunately, he did not vent his anger on the entire Yen family because of Ling and her father. Otherwise, the Yen family would not be able to withstand his anger. After knowing the identities of Lung Ruoxue and the others, the Yen clan head and first elder were even more determined to befriend them. Hence, they were even more concerned about their well-being. Lung Ruoxue and the others, who had planned to leave, had no choice but to stay in the Yen residence for a few more days at the warm invitation of the Yen family head. However, they could not stand the excessive hospitality and enthusiasm of the Yen family head and great elder, so they took advantage of the night and quietly left. Chapter 1380, Yen Ling Heirs Revenge, 1. After Lung Ruoxue and the rest left the Yen residence, they traveled through the night and only found an empty spot in the outskirts to rest the next evening. After setting up the tent, Yin Xiao, who had left with them, walked over to Lung Ruoxue and the demon and sat down beside them. He could not help but ask curiously, "Shui, where are you planning to go?" "Let's go home," Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. They had come down the mountain to say hello to Yen Kun before going into closed-door cultivation. Who knew that it would involve so many things? Now that she thought about it, she felt that it was a little unbelievable. "Big Brother Yin, where do you plan to go?" Lung Ruoxue asked after she finished speaking. "We're free to do as we please. We're here to gain experience anyway. Of course, we'll go wherever it's fun or dangerous." Yin Xiao said with a smile. "Oh, why don't you come to our house for a few days, Big Brother Yin? We're staying in the Nightmare Forest. It can definitely satisfy all of Brother Yin's requests." Lung Ruoxue invited with a smile. "All right, Shui, since you've invited me so sincerely, I won't be polite." Yin Xiao said happily, hee. He was just thinking about how to spend more time with them. Now that he was given this opportunity, he naturally wouldn't let it go. "You should be more polite." Actually, Shui was just casually asking. He couldn't bear to see Yin Xiao's proud evildoer and spoke with a straight face. "Ha, you're not cute at all. I think no woman in this world would like you except for Shui." Yin Xiao laughed. "Other than Shui, I don't need any other woman to like me." The demon said disapprovingly. "Young master, you're wrong." After hearing their talk, Uncle Zhong corrected them seriously. "That's not right." Yin Xiao's handsome face was filled with confusion. "There are many women who like young Master Yi. Aren't the daughters of the Yen and Hong families the same?" Uncle Zhong said. Hee, Uncle Zhong is right. However, those women only like him because of his looks. If they know that he's not attractive, they will definitely not like him. Yin Xiao looked at the demon and said, "They'll still say the same thing. Other than Shui, I don't need anyone to like me." The demon said coldly. Although he was a little angry that the master and servant made fun of him, he was not completely angry. P.L.'s read on Ibizero's novel. It's done. They'll stop joking. Let me ask you, how are you going to deal with that Yen Ling? Yin Xiao knew when to stop. Hence, he did not continue the conversation before the demon was completely angry. This was also one of the reasons why he could not make Lung Ruoxue and the rest hate him. "Does Big Brother Yin have any good ideas?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. When they left the Yen residence, they had also taken Yen Ling with them. Although she had been tortured by Xian and Shui Ying for many days, Yen Ling was still alive. This woman will be a disaster sooner or later. Why don't we just— Yin Xiao looked at Ling, who was tied up like a dumpling, and made a gotcha gesture. I've already handed her over to Bai Xian and Shui Ying to deal with. When they're done playing, they'll probably get rid of her. Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. Shui, this kind of thing should be done sooner rather than later. Otherwise, if she escapes, I'm afraid there will be endless trouble. Seeing the hatred in Ling Er's eyes, Yin Xiao was a little worried. Big brother Yin, don't worry. She won't be able to escape. Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she promised. Actually, even if Ling ran away, she wasn't afraid, because even if that woman ran away, she wouldn't live for long. They wouldn't be able to cause any waves. That's good. However, it's better to send more people to watch her. Yin Xiao said, a little worried. Big brother Yin, it's just a woman. You really don't have to take it to heart. Leng Ruoxue consoled. I know, but I have a bad feeling. I feel that this woman will bring us trouble. Yin Xiao said uneasily. Ever since he was young, his intuition had been very accurate, so he didn't have a good impression of Ling the first time he saw her. Big brother Yin, if there's trouble, let's just solve it. Besides, sometimes even if we don't take the initiative to cause trouble, trouble will come to us. Leng Ruoxue gave Yin Xiao a reassuring look. In short, we'd better be careful since we're bringing such trouble with us. Yin Xiao reminded. Don't worry, big brother Yin. She won't be able to escape. Leng Ruoxue promised once again. After dinner, everyone returned to their tents to rest. Midnight. Leng Ruoxue was woken up by Qingju. Unwillingly opening her eyes, Leng Ruoxue looked at Qingju and said, Qingju, what happened again? Sister, I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Qingju said with a smile. As you wish. Leng Ruoxue did not think much of it. To think that the stinky green vessel would do this too. I really don't know who he learned it from, she thought helplessly. Then I'll tell you the bad news first. Qingju laughed evilly. Then he cleared his throat on purpose before he slowly said, Sister. Ling ran away. Oh. Leng Ruoxue responded softly, obviously not too concerned about this matter. Sister, don't you want to know how she got away? When Qingju saw how calm Leng Ruoxue's reaction was, he could not help but ask, oh. His sister's reaction made him unable to continue. You say it. I'm listening. Leng Ruoxue chuckled as she looked at Qingju's pouting lips and dissatisfaction. That woman is really cunning. She said that she needed to go to the toilet and lied to the night watchman arranged by the Yin family. In the end, she left and never returned. Qingju said with a faint smile. Oh, brother Yin and the rest must be very anxious. Stinky Qingju, why did you only wake me up now? Leng Ruoxue pretended to be unhappy. Sister, how can you blame me for this? You're the one who didn't wake me up. Qingju felt very wronged, and there were tears in his black and bright eyes. Stinky Qingju, stop acting. Tell me the good news. Leng Ruoxue said. Sister, the good news is that Ling, that annoying woman, has run away. We've finally gotten rid of her. Qingju said excitedly. Chapter 1381, Ling Er's Revenge, 2. After hearing Qingju's words, Leng Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. She could not help but say, Qingju, how can this be considered good news? Ling has run away, and she will definitely come back to take revenge on us. So, we are in big trouble. Sister, you can lie to outsiders, but you want to lie to me? Was that even possible? I know that you don't care whether Ling runs away or not, because you don't see her as trouble at all. That woman is a person who can't accomplish anything, but is good at ruining things. Qingju said with a look of disdain. Green vessel. Have I ever said that you're becoming more and more shrewd? Leng Ruoxue said speechlessly. In her heart she was crying. Why couldn't she hide her thoughts from these little fellows? She was so depressed. Big sister has raised you well. Qingju said humbly and pushed all the credit to Leng Ruoxue. Are you complimenting your sister? Lung Ruoxue felt helpless and aggrieved. When had she ever groomed them? They had clearly comprehended it on their own, all right? Big sister, you guys should hurry up and leave. That brother Ian's subordinate has lost her and he's very anxious. Qing Ju reminded. Okay, then we'll go out. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she brought the evildoer out of the bracelet. Just as he walked out of the tent, Yin Xiao came up to him with an ashamed expression. Shui, I'm sorry. It's all my people's fault for not doing their job well and actually letting Ling run away. Yin Xiao's face was filled with guilt. He then instructed Uncle Zhong to bring the 2 night watchmen who were tied up to Lung Ruoxue and said, Shui, the 2 of them have failed in their duties. I'm handing them over to you now. You can do whatever you want with them. Big brother Yin, what are you doing? Although they are responsible for Ling Heir's escape, you can't blame them completely. Uncle Zhong, let them go. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Shui, this isn't just because they didn't do their job properly. It's also because they're soft-hearted. So, no matter what happens to them, they asked for it. You don't have to spare them on my account. Yin Xiao said bluntly. He was extremely angry at his subordinates' failure to live up to expectations because he realized that all the education he had given them had been in vain. He was afraid that if this happened once, there would be a second time. Those who were soft-hearted to their enemies would not live long in the divine world. Therefore, he would rather let Lung Ruoxue deal with these 2 people. It was better than them dying in the hands of others. Big brother Yin, most men have tender feelings for women, so it's understandable for them to be soft-hearted towards Ling. However, this kind of thing really cannot happen again and again. They are all your people, so it's better for you to punish them. I believe that after this incident, they should not dare to commit the same mistake again. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. All right then, Uncle Zhong. I'll remember their mistakes first, and punish them after I return to the divine world. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue was unwilling to punish them, Yin Xiao had no choice but to keep the 2 of them in his hands. Yes, young master. Yes, master. Uncle Zhong replied and then took the 2 night watchmen away. After Uncle Zhong had left with the 2 men, Lung Ruoxue asked, Big brother Yin, how long has Ling been running? P.L.S. read on AB0's Nov L. COM, it's been almost an hour. I've already sent people to chase after them. Yin Xiao said, a little embarrassed. Big brother Yin, let your people come back. There's no need to chase. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she spoke to Yin Xiao. Ling is injured and shouldn't have run far. If we don't catch her, I'm afraid there will be endless trouble in the future. Yin Xiao said worriedly. He had just talked about Ling with Lung Ruoxue and the others in the evening, and it had come true that night. This made him feel helpless and he felt like he was a jinx. The good things didn't come true, and the bad things came true. Brother Yin, it's just Ling. She can't cause any big waves. Don't worry. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly, as if she was confident. All right then. With that, Yin Xiao shot a red flare into the sky. This was used by the Yin family to contact their clansmen, and only the Yin family knew what this red flare represented. Not long after, the subordinates that Yin Xiao had sent out to find Ling slowly returned to the group. However, none of them were in the mood to sleep at the moment. Instead, they sat together in groups of 3 to 5 and started chatting. Shui, where do you think Ling will go? I even specially sent people to chase after them on the road back to the Yen residence, but they didn't even see a shadow. Yin Xiao's face was gloomy. Seeing his subordinates return empty-handed, it was impossible for him not to be disappointed. She won't return to the Yen family, and the Yen family won't accept her again. Lung Ruoxue said, Then should we send the news of Ling Heir's escape back to the Yen family? Yin Xiao asked. Yes, of course. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. I'll arrange for someone to deliver the letter to the Yen residence now. When Yin Xiao heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he quickly replied. No need, big brother Yin. I've already made the arrangements. The Yen family should know about this by tomorrow morning. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Shui, you're really fast. How come I didn't see you telling your subordinates to leave? Yin Xiao's handsome face was filled with question marks. It's not a human who's going to deliver the letter, it's my beastie. Leng Ruoxue explained with a smile. After knowing that Ling had gone missing, she had arranged for a little phoenix to leave this place invisibly and deliver a letter to the Yen clan. No wonder. Shui, let's leave this place tomorrow morning. Yin Xiao said. Ling has run away, so this place is no longer safe. Big Brother Yin, in this case, it is even more impossible for us to leave. If my guess is correct, the first thing that Ling would do after escaping would definitely be to find someone to deal with us. Therefore, we only need to wait here for the rabbit. This is also the main reason why I did not allow you to continue sending people to chase after her. It is really unnecessary. She will return. Leng Ruoxue said with absolute certainty. Shui, since that's the case, let's take early precautions. After listening to Leng Ruoxue's words, Yin Xiao understood what she meant. However, they were in the open, while Ling was hiding in the dark. They didn't know the other party's situation, but the enemy knew their background. Therefore, the situation was not in their favor. Chapter 1382, Ling, Heir's Revenge, 3. Good. Big Brother Yin, you don't have to be too worried. Do what you need to do and don't take this matter to heart. Leng Ruoxue reminded. Yes, it'll make them pay 120% attention and not let them make any more mistakes. Yin Xiao promised. Big Brother Yin, this really isn't a big deal. All of you should go back and have a good rest. We'll only be able to deal with the enemy better if we rest our spirits. Leng Ruoxue didn't wish for the Yin family to be restless because of this matter. That would go against her original intentions. Shui, you guys go rest. I'll personally keep watch tonight. Yin Xiao said stubbornly. All right then. Leng Ruoxue knew that Yin Xiao still felt a little apologetic because of Ling Heir's escape, so she didn't force him. She stood up and returned to the tent with the demon. 2 days later, the Yen clan's first elder personally led a team to meet up with Leng Ruoxue and the rest. Looking at the uninvited guests from the Yen residence, Leng Ruoxue felt a headache coming on. Great Elder Yen, why have you come? In fact, the reason she sent someone to deliver the letter was not to let the Yen clan send someone who knew that it would actually be the first elder who personally brought people over. We're here to help you find the fugitive. The great elder of the Yen clan replied matter-of-factly. He had discussed with the clan head for half a day, and the final decision was to send someone to help Leng Ruoxue find Ling. After all, although Ling had already been removed from the Yen clan and was no longer considered a member of the Yen clan, if her escape brought any unnecessary trouble to Leng Ruoxue and the others, the Yen clan might also benefit from it. This was not what they wanted. Who asked the Yen clan to be determined to be on good terms with Leng Ruoxue and the others. Hence, this was the best time for them to express their feelings. Then I'll thank Great Elder Yen first. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. In her heart, she was secretly resenting the little phoenix that she had sent to deliver the letter. After hearing Leng Ruoxue's thoughts, the little phoenix transmitted a message in an aggrieved manner. Master, this has nothing to do with me. I'm just a little bird that doesn't dare to show its face. I'm helpless when they follow me. I don't know why I just can't get rid of them. They're sticking to me, woo. As he said that, little phoenix even started to cry. All right, don't cry. I'm not blaming you. When Leng Ruoxue saw the little phoenix's sparkling tears, she quickly coaxed, sigh. A child would always be a child. If it wasn't for the fact that all the adult phoenixes were in seclusion, she wouldn't have sent this young fellow to deliver the letter. How could this innocent little thing be the match of those old foxes? After comforting the crying little phoenix in the bracelet, Leng Ruoxue smiled and said to the Great Elder, Since Great Elder Yen is here, let's set up camp here together. Aren't you looking for Ling? Yen tribe's first elder said in a daze. P.L.S. read on MYB0's Nov L. C.O.M. Brother Yin sent people to look for her, but they couldn't find her. That's why we decided to set up camp here and leave after we found Ling. Lung Ruoxue explained softly. Even though the Yen family's patriarch and first elder were very friendly, she would not completely trust them, and would not reveal her entire plan to them without holding back. Oh, since that's the case, I'll send the Yen family to look for him as well. Yen tribe's first elder did not doubt his words. Big brother Yin, since great elder Yen is willing to help, then let his people go with you to find Yen Ling. Lung Ruoxue smiled as she spoke to Yin Xiao, while secretly giving him a look. All right. Yin Xiao quickly replied. However, if so many people go out together, everyone won't have time to rest. It's better to divide into a few small teams and change shifts to look for Yen Ling heir's whereabouts. He suggested. His suggestion was quickly approved by Lung Ruoxue and the Yen clan's great elder. Then, in order to facilitate their cooperation, Yin Xiao and the Yen clan's great elder decided to split their forces into 3 teams and split into 3 groups to search for Yen Ling. After searching for a few days, he couldn't even find a single strand of Yen Ling heir's hair. Yin Xiao sat by the fire and chatted with the Yen clan's great elder. Without realizing it, the topic had turned to Yen Ling. Yin Xiao smiled and asked, Great Elder Yen, could Yen Ling have already run back to the Yen clan? After all, this place isn't too far from the Yen residence. Impossible. Even if she returns to Yen City, no one would dare to take her in. She has already been kicked out of the family tree by the Yen clan. If anyone in Yen City takes her in, it would be our Yen clan's doing. Not to mention, before I came here, I also told the city guards that if they see Yen Ling, they should immediately capture her and not let her enter the city. The Yen clan's great elder said very seriously, afraid that Yin Xiao would suspect that they had hidden Yen Ling. I'm just asking, Great Elder Yen doesn't need to be so serious. Yin Xiao said with a satisfied smile. I'm just telling the truth. Great Elder Yen also laughed, and couldn't help but secretly think, can you not be serious? He didn't want to be misunderstood by these people. In fact, since the day Yen Ling was expelled from the Yen family, her life and death had nothing to do with the Yen family. However, after she ran away, he also felt a headache because with Yen Ling heir's character, it was very likely that she hated the Yen family. Therefore, he had brought people out to look for Yen Ling heir's whereabouts. Are you guys talking about me? At this time, a slightly mocking voice rang in their ears. Yin Xiao and the Yen clan's great elder raised their heads at the same time, just in time to see Yen Ling standing not far away from them with a smug look on her face. The two looked at each other, but neither of them spoke first. Are you surprised to see me? I didn't expect you to still be here. That's good. It saves me the trouble of looking for you guys. Yen Ling said with a proud smile. Yin Xiao and the Yen clan's great elder still didn't say anything. However, the two of them were thinking to themselves that Yen Ling must have something to rely on since she was so bold to return here. Sure enough, just as they had expected, the next second, they saw the head of the Hong family appear beside Yen Ling. The two of them even looked very intimate. Great Elder Yen, it looks like this traitor of your family has joined the Hong family. Yin Xiao laughed when he saw this. I didn't expect that either. Great Elder Yen said, suppressing the anger in his heart. Chapter 1383, Yen Ling Heir's Revenge 4. Could it be that she brought the Hong family here to kill us? Yin Xiao asked, feigning curiosity. It should be. The Yen clan's first elder gritted his teeth. You treated Ling like this, so isn't it only right for her to come and take revenge? Hearing the conversation between the two of them, the master of the Hong family beside Yen Ling spoke. Master Hong, may I know who you are to say this? Yin Xiao ignored the smug Yen Ling and directly asked the Hong family head. I am now Ling Heir's husband. The head of the Hong family said with a smile. What's wrong? You're taking a step back? Haven't you always been interested in Shui? Yin Xiao provoked her on purpose. Who did you say was second? When Yen Ling heard Yin Xiao's words, she roared in anger. Damn it, the last thing she wanted to hear right now was that woman's name. She hated Lung Ruoxue to death. She would never forget the torture that Stinky Fox and that handsome man had inflicted on her. During that period of time, she was better off dead than alive. Fortunately, she had pulled through it and now had the strength to take revenge. However, the most unfortunate thing was that she could not kill Lung Ruoxue with her own hands. This would definitely be the greatest regret of her life. Of course it's you, Yin Xiao said with a smile. Then, he couldn't help but ask curiously, since Master Hong is so confident in avenging Miss Yen, you must have something to rely on. May I know who you have found? Why don't you come out and broaden our horizons? Yin Xiao's divine sense could sense the surroundings of their campsite. Other than the head of the Hong family and Ling, there were many other troops lying in ambush. Although he couldn't tell their exact number, judging from their auras, they shouldn't be weak. It seemed like the head of the Hong family was determined to win this battle. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought so many people. Furthermore, the strength of these people was obviously not from the godly continent. Don't worry, I'll let you know, the head of the Hong family said with a smile. Then he started to look around. After searching for a while, he did not see the person he was looking for. He could not help but feel disappointed. Master Hong, are you looking for us? Suddenly, Lung Ruoxue's voice rang in everyone's ears. Following that, they saw a few handsome men and women walking out of the largest tent, as well as a snow-white fox. When Master Hong and Ling saw Lung Ruoxue and the others, their hearts were completely different. Ling was filled with hatred, but Master Hong was reluctant to part with them. Master Hong's eyes were fixed on the devastatingly beautiful Lung Ruoxue. He didn't look away until Ling pinched him in anger. He then regained his senses and tried his best to hide his loss of self-control. He said coldly, Miss Lung, I didn't expect to see you again. Let's settle the old and new scores together today. Hearing Master Hong's words, Lung Ruoxue raised her eyebrows and asked curiously, Master Hong, I know that there are old scores between us. What is this new one? PLs read on AB0's Nov L. CO, in the new one. Ling said loudly. There's no new score between us. Lung Ruoxue laughed nonchalantly, obviously not taking their words to heart. Master Hong, does the first elder of the Hong family know that you've come to seek revenge? Lung Ruoxue asked again. That old thing is old and his mind is not clear. That's why he gave so much compensation. He's no longer the first elder of the Hong family. The head of the Hong family said proudly. With the support of the people he had found, the great elder of the Hong family could do nothing to him. Not only that, he had even imprisoned the great elder. If there were no accidents, the great elder would probably have to stay in his own courtyard in the future. It would be a dream for him to come out and do anything. It seems like someone is supporting Master Hong. Lung Ruoxue understood. Not bad. It's because of our support that Master Hong is able to show off his skills. He was just a great elder, yet he dared to ride on the head of the family head and act like a tyrant. This is preposterous. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice rang out. Following that, a few dozen tall and burly men walked out from the dark. The person in the lead was of unknown age. He had a full beard and his body was exceptionally tall and strong. His eyes were filled with a bright light. When he saw Lung Ruoxue, he revealed a lecherous glint and could not help but praise her in his heart. What a stunning beauty! The boy from the Hong family did not lie to him. The man's gaze made the evildoer extremely unhappy. Killing intent rose in his heart. In his eyes, these people were already dead. But even if they died, he would not let go of those who dared to have designs on Shui. This also meant that these people were destined to have a tragic end. Chapter 1384, Ants, 1. Who are you? Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes and asked indifferently. We're from the main Hong clan of the Divine Realm. The man in the lead said with a slight smugness. In his heart, he couldn't help but think, their identities would definitely give them a shock. Even though they could only use the strength of a high-level deity on the Divine Mainland, wasn't it as easy as killing a chicken to deal with a few people from the Divine Mainland? Oh, I didn't think that the Hong family would be able to afford to hire you. From what I know, the Hong family probably can't afford to pay you too well. Lung Ruoxue chuckled and said, since these people were invited by the head of the Hong family, they must have their own motives. However, what she could not understand was what else was there in the Hong family that was worth it for these people. Who said that? I'm very satisfied with the reward he paid this time, because the reward he's paying is you. The man in the lead laughed as he stared at Lung Ruoxue with a determined look in his eyes. It's me? However, I don't belong to the Hong clan. What right does he have to treat me as a reward? When Lung Ruoxue heard the man's words, she didn't feel angry. On the contrary, she felt that this was too funny. Someone actually wanted to use her as a reward? Wasn't this an empty promise? It wasn't that easy to get her reward. As long as I capture you, you'll be mine. Isn't it obvious? The leader said matter-of-factly, completely unaware that his words had already provoked a certain someone's displeasure, and that a certain someone had already secretly decided that even if this man died, he would not let him off. You're that confident in yourself? Do you think the people you've brought can deal with all of us? Lung Ruoxue was speechless. She sighed in her heart. Even if you're from the divine realm, there's no need to be so arrogant. One had to know that the consequences of being too proud would be very miserable, and underestimating the enemy was a fatal taboo. What's wrong? Are you complaining that we have too few people? Brothers, all of you, come out and let this beauty see you. As soon as the leader's voice fell, many men in black swarmed out from all directions. Those men had a murderous look in their eyes as they stared at Lung Ruoxue and the rest with an unfriendly expression. They tried to use their aura to suppress the other party. However, to their surprise, the other party was not affected at all. They couldn't help but feel suspicious. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes swept across the group of men in black. Her beautiful face revealed a satisfied smile. There were hundreds of them, and even though most of them were at the deity level, they were more than enough to deal with the people on the godly mainland. It was no wonder that the leader was so confident. However, the subordinates he brought were able to deal with others, but it was a pity that they were facing her. That had also doomed these people to a tragedy. Beauty. See that? If you're smart enough to surrender, I might spare your lives. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. The man in the lead shouted, Thank you for your good intentions, but can you allow us to discuss this? After all, surrendering is a major event. Lung Ruoxue smiled and said slowly, No. Even if you surrender, you will still die. At this time, Ling roared in dissatisfaction. She had gone through a lot of trouble to persuade the head of the Hong family to invite people from the main family to take revenge. How could she let these people get away with it? She must kill these people. Since when did a woman get the right to point fingers at the Hong family? Or is it that the members of the Hong family have to listen to this woman? Lung Ruoxue ignored Ling's words and spoke to the leader. Little Hong, make your woman shut up. I'm here and she has no right to interrupt. After the leader heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he shouted at the Hong family's head in dissatisfaction. Yes. Yes, master. The master of the Hong family quickly replied. Then he pulled Ling and whispered a few words in her ear. Ling was so scared that she didn't dare to speak anymore. Beauty, are you satisfied now? Seeing that his words were effective, the leader looked at Lung Ruoxue and said proudly, Well, I didn't expect you to have such prestige. I just don't know what your status is in the main family? Lung Ruoxue asked with an innocent look. Beauty, I'm a direct descendant of the Hong family. You won't regret following me. The man in the lead said proudly. I have no problem following you. However, I only like men who are stronger than me. If you can't defeat me, then you can only die in my hands. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the leader laughed even more heartily, as if he had just heard a good joke. When he was done laughing, he spoke, Beauty, I will let you know what the strongest man is. Following me is your wisest choice. Oh, really? However, if I follow you, what about the others? Can you not kill them? Lung Ruoxue asked with a face full of anticipation. Of course you can. As long as they surrender, I can spare their lives for the sake of you, Beauty. However, their life or death will be entirely up to you, Beauty. The man in the lead laughed. In other words, if Lung Ruoxue was willing to follow him, then the people around her would naturally not have to die. Otherwise, they would definitely die. Let's discuss this. I can't make this decision on my own. Lung Ruoxue said with a troubled expression. Good. Then you guys should quickly discuss it. My patience is limited. The man in the lead warned. Following that, Lung Ruoxue pulled Yin Xiao and the Yen clan's great elder to the side and started to chat with them through voice transmission. Shui, what do you plan to do? You're not really asking us to surrender, right? Yin Xiao said helplessly. Although the enemy was from the divine realm and seemed extremely powerful, he did not think much of them after seeing their strength. Even if the enemy's numbers seemed to be a little large, he believed that with Shui and the others' devious ideas, they would not be taken seriously at all. When the Yen clan's great elder heard Yin Xiao's words, he didn't express any opinions. He only forced himself to remain calm as he looked at Lung Ruoxue. However, his heart was still beating like a drum. However, when he thought about the strength of Lung Ruoxue, Yin Xiao, and the others, his heart slowly calmed down. Of course I want tea, Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Chapter 1385, Ants 2. That's good. Yin Xiao was relieved. As a member of the Yin family from one of the 8 great divine regions, if he surrendered now, he wouldn't be able to explain himself even when he returned to the divine world. His grandfather master would definitely scold him to death. As long as he thought of that possibility, he would be afraid. Furthermore, he guessed that only Shui would be able to deal with the eccentric old man in his family. Miss Lung, I wonder what I can do for you? At this time, the Yen clan's first elder also asked via voice transmission. Great elder, you can do whatever you want later, but if you can't beat them in a one-on-one fight, then just beat them up as a group. Lung Ruoxue suggested with an evil smile. Lung Ruoxue's words caused the Yen clan's first elder to be taken aback. Immediately after, cold sweat started to flow down his face. He had not expected this young miss to actually order them to gang up on him. However, when he thought about how Lung Ruoxue and the others did not play by the rules, he did not find it strange. In fact, not only the Yen clan, but many people from the godly mainland and the entire godly realm would choose to fight one-on-one during battles. It was rare for them to fight in groups. This was not because they were noble by nature, but a habit that they had developed over the years. Therefore, when he heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he was stunned for a moment but quickly returned to normal. The other party's strength was above the Yen clan's. If the Yen clan didn't want to suffer too heavy losses, they really had to gang up on him. After thinking it through, he quickly accepted Lung Ruoxue's suggestion. From this, it could be seen that the Yen clan's first elder was a flexible and adaptable person. This kind of person usually lived longer than those who were stubborn. Looking at the Yen clan's first elder's expression, Lung Ruoxue knew that the old man had thought things through. She then reminded him, in a while, everyone should act according to the circumstances. When dealing with the enemy, we must not be soft-hearted. We must let these people know that we are not pushovers. Since we have come, we can forget about returning to the divine realm. Yes. Yin Xiao and the Yen clan's great elder nodded. Following that, Lung Ruoxue brought them to the Hong family and said with a faint smile, "If we surrender, are there any benefits? There are no benefits. If you resist to the end, the only outcome is death. However, if you surrender, I can let you go." The man in the lead said in a clear voice. "Since there are no benefits, we choose not to surrender." Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. As soon as she said this, the Hong family members were all stunned. They didn't expect that in such a situation where the strong and weak were clearly distinguished, the other party would still have the thought of resisting. This made them feel very incredulous. At this time, they still didn't know the true strength of the other side, and they didn't know that there were many battle maniacs in the other side. Not knowing the true strength of the enemy had also doomed them to learn a painful lesson. You've really made the right choice? The leader was stunned for a moment before he asked in disbelief. I believe in my own choice. Ling Ruoxue said calmly. That's good. Since this is your choice, don't you regret it? After the man in the lead finished speaking, he gave his subordinates a look. In an instant, the members of the Hong family surrounded Ling Ruoxue and the others. From their posture, it was obvious that they wanted to use their advantage in numbers to launch a group attack. Are you trying to gang up on me? Ling Ruoxue asked despite knowing the answer. Wasn't this obvious? However, don't worry, beauty. I'll personally use my strength to conquer you. The man in the lead said. It was obvious that his target was Ling Ruoxue. However, there was someone who would not let his wishful thinking come true. If you want to use your strength to conquer Xue, you'll have to get past me first. The demon laughed coldly. Who are you? The man in the lead looked at the man who was as handsome as a demon and said with a face full of disdain. If he did not guess wrong, this person should be the pretty boy who lived off a woman that the Hong family's kid had mentioned. He did have the capital to be a pretty boy, but it was a pity that he had met him. He had never liked men who could win women's hearts with their looks alone. So this man was dead meat. I am Xue, Heir's man. If you want to have Xue, you must kill me first. Otherwise, you will be the one to die. The demon said coldly. A man who lives off a woman is actually so arrogant. Today, I'll let you see what a real man is. The man in the lead roared angrily. And when he said that he was a man who lived off a woman, Ziyu and the others were struck by lightning. When Ziyu and the others heard that man's words, they suppressed the laughter in their hearts and secretly thought to themselves, how bold must he be to dare to say that that demon is a man who lives off a woman? They could already imagine how furious the evildoer was. At the thought of this, the few of them subconsciously distanced themselves from the evildoer who was slowly emitting cold air. Even Snow Shadow did not dare to make fun of the evildoer at this moment, because it was very clear how perverted that man was. That was a fellow that could not be provoked, AI. The poor Hong family. They probably didn't know that their heads didn't belong to them anymore. Are you living off a woman? I'll let you know how powerful I am as a man who lives off a woman. The evildoer was neither angry nor annoyed as he spoke with a smile on his face. However, Ling Ruoxue, who was well aware of the evildoer's nature, knew that this was a sign that the evildoer was about to get angry. She simply did not dare to imagine what would happen to this self-righteous man from the Hong family. Then come, a beauty. Open your eyes wide and watch. I'll let you know what a real man is. The man in the lead said proudly. Then he made the first move, and everyone saw a light blue divine power fly toward the demon. The demon looked on coldly with his arms crossed as if he was looking at a clown. He looked at the man not far away and waited for the water attribute skill to fly only a few centimeters away from him. He didn't even dodge but let the skill hit him. When Yin Xiao and the rest saw this, they couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat for the demon. However, they were also a little puzzled. Why didn't the demon avoid the divine power? The demon who was hit by the leader's water attribute divine skill had already been enveloped by a huge water attribute divine power. The people outside did not know what was going on inside, let alone whether the demon was safe or dead. Chapter 1386, Ants, 3. A pretty boy is a pretty boy, he's really weak. With this little strength, you dare to snatch my woman, you really don't know your own strength. Seeing that he had killed the man who was living off a woman with just one move, the leader felt even more pleased with himself. However, his smugness did not last long. He saw that the huge water attribute divine power that had originally enveloped the monster's body was slowly decreasing. Then, the light blue divine power disappeared faster and faster. In a few seconds, the water attribute divine power on the monster's body disappeared. The evildoer stretched his back lazily, as if he had eaten to his heart's content, and said indifferently, "This amount of divine power is too little, give me more." Damn it! What did you just say? The leader had a look of disbelief. Was this still considered a human? It actually devoured his divine power. How was this possible? The man really couldn't believe what he was seeing, so he could only lie to himself and conclude that this devilish pretty boy wasn't human. I said, "You have too little Shen power. I'm not full. Give me more." The demon said with a face full of anticipation. You're not human. The man in the lead said angrily. He was even more certain that this person who could devour Shen power was not human, because humans could not do such a heaven-defying thing. How can you scold people? If I'm not a human, are you? The demon said with a face of dissatisfaction. Of course I'm a human. The leading man shouted. After knowing that the evildoer in front of him could devour his Shen power, he was not so sure that he could kill him. However, he knew that he could not show even a trace of fear. Otherwise, how would he be able to convince the others in the future? Oh really? Why don't I feel like you're human? However, you're definitely not a beastie, you're worse than a beast. The demon said very seriously. Damn it. You're looking for death. The leader was furious. Just as he was about to attack again, he saw the demonic man in front of him looking at him expectantly. He immediately gave up the idea of attacking again. This guy liked to devour divine power. If he was the one making a move, wouldn't that be going along with his wishes? No, I can't fall for his trick. However, this pretty boy was so difficult to deal with. If he couldn't kill him, how could he take this beauty away? At this time, he was quite conflicted in his heart. Why did you stop? Continue. I'll be waiting. The demon's smile was pure and innocent. However, the more unthreatening his smile was, the more frightened the other party was, and the more he did not dare to attack. After waiting for a moment, the demon saw that the other party had no intention of attacking. He was slightly dissatisfied and complained, "Since you're not willing to make a move, I'll have to do it myself." As soon as he finished speaking, he directly attacked the man in the lead. As for the moves, naturally it was his favorite fist. Only the feeling of punching someone with one's fist and making loud bangs would have the atmosphere of a fight. And this had always been his favorite. With a few loud bangs, the evildoer's fists drew beautiful arcs in the air and all his fists landed on the leading man. His fists were so fast that no one noticed that there were a few strands of black divine power thinner than hair in his fists. The divine power entered the leading man's body through his fists and settled down happily inside. The man in the lead had two attributes. One was the water attribute and the other was the earth attribute, which was good at defense. The Shen power of these two attributes had originally occupied half of the man's body and maintained a balance. However, the moment the black Shen power as thin as a hair entered their territory, the Shen power of the two attributes sensed it. Thus, in order to defend their territory, the Shen power of the water and earth attributes joined together to resist the invasion of the enemy. The black Shen power was small and flexible, like a small spirit snake wandering around. Wherever it went, no matter what attribute the Shen power was, it would quickly decrease. This caused the two Shen powers to panic, so the water and earth Shen power went berserk. However, the small black Shen power did not intend to face them head-on, so it always avoided their pursuit and slithered away happily. The divine power of the two attributes became more and more violent, and their behavior was directly reflected in the leader's body. At this time, the leader not only had to bear the physical pain, but he also had to bear the uncontrollable divine power in his body. Under such double pressure, he immediately spat out blood and looked at the demon in disbelief. What did you do to me? The leader was in disbelief. In his opinion, his strength was clearly higher than the pretty boy in front of him, but why was it that in front of this demonic man, he did not have the slightest power to fight back? This was not normal. It was too abnormal and he couldn't accept it. Therefore, he concluded that this man must have used improper means. Otherwise, how could he be controlled by someone else? Do I need to do anything to you? In my eyes, you're just an ant. The demon coldly laughed. The haughtiness of looking down on the world instantly erupted from his body, causing people to not dare to look at him directly. At this moment, not only was the leader shocked, even Yin Xiao, the Yen clan's great elder, and the rest who had been with them for a period of time were equally shocked. This was because they had never seen such a devilishly handsome man exude such an intimidating aura. In their eyes, the man's favorite thing to do was to follow Lung Ruoxue around like a little tail. At that time, they had only thought that this man was unbelievably handsome, even though the two of them looked quite compatible from the outside. However, they were not completely clear about the strength of a monster. However, now that they saw how easily he had toyed with the Hong family's Immortal Realms messenger, they began to have some idea of the demon's strength. It seemed like the people around Lung Ruoxue could not be underestimated. Not only were these people extremely handsome, but they also liked to play the pig to eat the tiger, making people underestimate their strength. This kind of ending was fatal to anyone who was their enemy. Thinking up to this point, the Yen clan's first elder deeply rejoiced at his clan's wise decision. Otherwise, the fate of these people from the Hong clan would probably be the same as theirs. "I'm an ant," the leader muttered to himself in shock. He had always regarded the people of the godly mainland as ants. He had never thought that there would be a day when he would be treated like an ant by someone from the godly mainland. This was a huge blow and humiliation to him, and he couldn't accept it. "You're not just an ant, you're an ant that's about to die." The demon laughed coldly. Then, his palms slowly moved from the man's body to his neck. Everyone heard a crisp caw sound and saw the man's head tilt to the side. He was no longer breathing. The demon threw the leader to the ground with a look of disgust. Then, he threw a ball of flame-like, extremely hot, black, translucent object onto the leader's body. In an instant, the man turned into ashes. When everyone from the Hong family saw this scene, they felt a deep fear in their hearts. Oh my God! He had actually used his bare hands to break his own boss' neck. This was truly too inconceivable. One should know that as one's strength increased, the toughness of one's body would also become tougher. It was almost impossible to strangle a person from the divine realm to death with just a pair of hands without using any divine skills or weapons. However, what they thought was impossible had actually happened right in front of their eyes. This made it impossible for them to deceive themselves even if they wanted to. This also caused the Hong family to be deeply afraid of him. In that instant, the members of the Hong family who were surrounding the demon all retreated secretly and tried to maintain a safe distance from him. Unfortunately, they had come here today. Lung Ruoxue and the others would not let them go back alive. Hence, no matter where they hid, they would not be able to survive. "What are you guys doing? If I don't make a move, these ants will all be mine." The demon's starry eyes swept over Ziyu and the others, but the words he said made the Hong family's people's hearts palpitate with fear, and they secretly hated him. We were all stunned by your performance." Shui Ying laughed evilly. After he finished speaking, he immediately attacked the Hong family members around him. His huge and sharp claws gently scratched the air a few times, and 3 Hong family members died on the spot. There were 5 deep claw marks on their necks without exception, and blood flowed out from the claw marks like a spring. Seeing this, Ziyu and the others also attacked the Hong family members who were surrounding them. In fact, they were mainly afraid that if they were too late, their opponents would be robbed. Seeing them fighting to be the first to attack, Yin Shao and the others naturally wouldn't just stand by and watch. After giving his subordinates a look, Yin Shao's side began to fight. Right now, the only people who didn't make a move were the Yen clansmen. Seeing that the Hong clansmen had killed and injured countless people in an instant, some of the warlike Yen clansmen couldn't stand it anymore. The short-tempered one even said directly, "Great Elder, let's attack as well. Don't be in a hurry to make a move. The few of you, go and capture Ling. The rest of you, come with me to deal with the head of the Hong clan." After the Yen clan's first elder saw the situation on the stage, he gave a very self-aware order. Almost all of the Hong clan's people were from the firmament. With the Yen clan's current strength, it was naturally not suitable for them to fight them head-on. Moreover, he saw that Ling Ruoxue and the others had no difficulty dealing with the Hong clan's people from the firmament. Hence, he gave up the plan of ganging up on them and set his sights on the master of the Hong clan and Ling instead. It could not be said that he was slacking off, But he felt that if the master of the Hong clan and Yen Ling saw that the situation was not good, they might take advantage of the chaos and escape. It wasn't a good thing not to tell them. So this time, he naturally had to keep a close eye on those two guys who liked to cause trouble. We can't let them live. At the same time, the Yen clan, under the lead of their first elder, went straight to the somewhat panicked Hong clan master and Yen Ling, and surrounded them in the middle. What do you want to do? The master of the Hong family, who was looking for an opportunity to escape, was furious when he saw that he was completely surrounded. However, his tone at this time was as if he was a good girl who had met a lecher, full of helplessness and timidity. Chapter 1387, Bewildering Formation, 1. Don't you know what we want to do? The Yen clan's first elder laughed evilly. His tone was as if he was teasing a lady from a good family. He spoke in a relaxed and casual manner. However, when the Hong clan's clan head heard it, he had mixed feelings in his heart. He had once regarded the Yen family as a piece of fat meat that he was determined to get and had deliberately planned to annex the Yen family. But now, he was going to become the Yen family's prisoner again. This made him feel very uncomfortable in his heart. How could this be? Why couldn't he exterminate these people even though he had invited the main family? He couldn't understand what went wrong. Don't act rashly. You've killed a member of the main family. The main family will never let you off. The head of the Hong family said after some thought. Master Hong, are you trying to use your family to threaten us? I've already killed him, so what if I don't let him go? At this moment, Lung Ruoxue walked over with a faint smile. That damned woman. I won't let you off. When Yen Ling saw Lung Ruoxue, she couldn't help but shout. She really hated this woman to the core. However, she was even angrier about that useless man from the Hong family. He couldn't even deal with these few people. She didn't want to be caught by them again. As long as she thought of the fox and the man's terrible means, her heart was particularly afraid. Great Elder Yen, how do you plan to deal with this woman who has betrayed your Yen clan? Lung Ruoxue ignored Yen Ling heir's words and directly asked the Yen clan's first elder. I didn't betray the Yen clan, Great Elder. Don't listen to her nonsense. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Yen Ling immediately shouted. Her beautiful face was filled with anxiety. You colluded with the Hong clan to put us to death. Isn't that betraying the Yen clan? Do you really have to let the Yen family die in your hands before it can be considered a betrayal? Lung Ruoxue laughed coldly and asked with a mocking expression. Great Elder Grandpa, I only wanted to kill them, not the Yen clan. Although you've expelled me from the Yen clan, in my heart, I'm still a member of the Yen clan, whether alive or dead. How could I possibly betray the Yen clan? Great Elder Grandfather, we're a family, don't listen to the instigations of outsiders. Seeing that the situation was not good, Yen Ling quickly played the emotional card. Her words still carried a trace of crying and grievance, and her beautiful eyes were filled with tears, making her look really pitiful. However, most of the Yen clan's people present knew Yen Ling heir's temperament. Therefore, even if she pretended to be pitiful, even if she wanted to die wisely, the Yen clan's people present did not believe her. From this, it could be seen how bad Yen Ling heir's popularity was, and her act of showing weakness seemed to have been used in the wrong place. Great Elder Grandpa, you've watched me grow up. Seeing that the Yen family didn't respond for a long time, Yen Ling said again. That's right. I've watched you grow up. You were so pure and cute when you were young, but how did you become like this? The Yen clan's first elder said with a look of disappointment. He was very disappointed, especially when he saw that Yen Ling had actually colluded with the Hong family. The anger in his heart could not be described with words, and Yen Ling indeed wanted to kill them as well. Therefore, he really did not dare to keep such a venomous Yen family member in this world. Great Elder Yen, you can clean up your own mess. They'll take care of the Hong family head. Seeing through the Yen clan's first elder's thoughts, Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she distributed the two of them. All right. The Yen clan's great elder nodded, and then gave a look to the Yen clan's people beside him. The Yen clan's people who received the Great Elder's look immediately stepped forward and lifted Ling up by her collar like a little chick. The Hong family head didn't dare to say a word when he saw this scene. He could already see from the corner of his eye that most of the Hong family members he had brought with him were dead. This scene made the fear in his heart slowly deepen. These people were too ruthless. They were not human. The head of the Hong family couldn't help but shout in his heart. However, it was a pity that no one could hear his inner thoughts. Lung Ruoxue, who could have let Qin Ju read her mind, was not interested in knowing what he was thinking. Ling, you should be a good person in your next life. After the Yen clan's great elder finished speaking, a fiery red light was released from his hand. Then Ling, who had no power to resist, died. She didn't even struggle and died very peacefully. When Lung Ruoxue saw this scene, she knew that the Yen clan's first elder was still somewhat soft-hearted, otherwise, he wouldn't have allowed Ling to die so easily. Killing her so easily was really letting her off too easily. However, since she had said that Ling would be dealt with by the Yen clan, she naturally wouldn't interfere with their actions. As for this Master Hong, it's not easy to die now. Since he dared to use her as a reward, he had to be prepared for her revenge. Besides, not to mention that he would not let him die so easily, even the demon would not want him to die too easily. Shui, leave this Master Hong to me. The demon walked over and said with a smile that was not a smile. No, I don't want to give it to you. Don't mess around, the Hong family won't let you off. When the master of the Hong family heard the demon's words, he was so scared that he stuttered. This guy is really too ruthless. He actually strangled someone from the firmament to death. When he thought about the demon's terrifying methods, he felt extremely regretful. Were his eyes covered in shit? He had actually mistaken a fierce wolf for a weak little rabbit. This was definitely his biggest miscalculation. Otherwise, how could he be so miserable? Don't be afraid. He'll be gentle. The evil man smiled charmingly, but the coldness on his body only increased. Hearing the demon's words, Lung Ruoxue and the others were all speechless. These words really made their imaginations run wild. However, they naturally wouldn't say it out loud at this time, in case they were also unlucky. After the demon finished speaking, he stretched out his long arm and mimicked the way the Yen clan's people did previously. He lifted the Hong clan's clan head to his eyes like he was carrying a little chick and said with a faint smile, "Your wife has already left, don't worry. I'll let you accompany her, but we have to have a good chat before you go." Then, the evildoer grabbed the collar of the Hong family's master and dragged him into a tent. Not long after, painful moans and screams could be heard from the tent. Yin Xiao and the others were curious, but no matter how curious they were, they didn't dare to go in to see what was going on. They didn't want to see what they shouldn't see and be killed by the evildoer. Chapter 1388, Bewildering Formation, 2. Therefore, they could only suppress the throbbing curiosity in their hearts and vent all the pain of not being able to find out the truth on the Hong family members who were not completely dead yet. After a long time, the sounds in the tent became weaker and weaker. All the Hong family members present had been killed by Yin Xiao and the rest. Then, they saw the demon dragging the Hong family head out of the tent by his collar. Master Hong was dragged in and out. In other words, Master Hong was no longer alive. After the evildoer threw Master Hong on the ground, he walked to Lung Ruoxue and said, "Shui, since these people are all dead, if we let them lie here and scare the passers-by, we will feel guilty." In other words, he was saying that he could destroy these people's corpses and get rid of all traces. After all, they had done this kind of thing many times in the past. Yes. Lung Ruoxue nodded. A small flame with a dark purple glow appeared on her fingertips. The temperature of the flame was extremely high. The moment it appeared, it dried up the moisture in the surrounding 100 miles. When it was thrown onto the bodies of the Hong family members, their bodies evaporated like water vapor without exception. Seeing this, Yin Xiao and the Yen clan's great elder were both shocked. Their subordinates were also dumbfounded. What kind of flame was this? The temperature was so high that they could not stand it any longer. What they did not know was that she had even controlled the temperature of the flames on purpose, afraid that the Yin and Yen families would not be able to adapt to it. However, even Ziyu and the rest who knew that the temperature of Lung Ruox's flames was extremely high, they had subconsciously stayed away from the scope of the flames, especially Xuering. She was afraid that her beautiful long hair would be burned again, so the moment she saw the flames, she immediately hid far away. After everything was settled, Lung Ruoxue and the rest bade farewell to the Yen clan's first elder. The group headed towards the Nightmare Forest. As the Yen clan's first elder was in a hurry to return and report everything to the clan head, he did not hold them back. He only said that he would pay a visit to the Nightmare Forest when he had the time before leaving in a hurry. At the same time, in the main residence of the Hong family in Hong City, the first elder of the Hong family stood in the ancestral hall with a sorrowful expression. He looked at the life command token that had already shattered in front of him, and his heart ached faintly. One had to know that he had spent a large sum of money to redeem a good portion of those who had died from the Yen family. However, because of hatred, not only had they lost their lives, but they had also caused the Hong family to suffer heavy losses. In a few hundred years, the Hong family on the godly mainland would not be able to recover. At the thought of this, he could not help but feel resentful towards his family head, who had also died. If it wasn't for the family head not listening to his advice and insisting on dealing with Lung Ruoxue and the others, even imprisoning him, how would the Hong family have lost both their wealth and manpower? Once the family head died, the Hong family would be without a leader. Therefore, the elders who were left behind by the family head to watch over him had no choice but to let him out and ask him to take care of the household. How could the Hong family still have any domestic affairs to speak of? The entire Hong family was in a state of panic because of the death of the family head and some elders. They were afraid that the other party would come to the door and destroy them together. Therefore, the Hong family members at this time had no intention of staying in Hong City. Some of them had already left and some of them had hidden. The only person accompanying him in the main residence was actually that brainless Elder Shan. And Elder Shan was also the only one who would still visit his Hong family members when he was imprisoned by the family head. Thinking about the fickleness of human relationships these days, the first elder of the Hong family was even more open-minded. Hatred was endless, and he couldn't even think about avenging the head of the Hong family and the others. This was not because he was timid or not as good as others, but because he felt that as a person from the divine realm, he should be mentally prepared to die at any time. If he went to seek revenge the moment someone in his family died, how many people would die in the divine realm every day? The consequences of this endless revenge would slowly form a cycle and fall into a dead end. First Elder, no matter what you want to do, I will support you. Standing behind the first elder of the Hong family, Elder Shan, who had not spoken for a long time, said. The first elder of Hong clan turned around as he patted Elder Shan's shoulder. Although he didn't express his gratitude, he looked pretty pleasant. At this moment, he had someone's support. What a nice feeling. Elder Shan, you've worked hard these days. After looking at Elder Shan for a long while, the first elder of the Hong family finally spoke. It's not hard. Elder Shan said, a little flattered. Ever since the great elder found out that he had single-handedly created the scandal between him and the Yen clan's great elder, he had not brought him to see him. However, the great elder had obviously been treating him more well these days, which made him very excited. Great elder, there are only the two of us in the main residence now. What are your thoughts? The first elder of the Hong family asked. He knew that after the death of the master, some people in the Hong family had the idea of splitting the family. He had not allowed this at first, but he had thought it through. Since those people wanted to split the family, then so be it. He couldn't be bothered with them anymore, but this matter shouldn't be known by the main family. Otherwise, the main family wouldn't allow it. First elder, we can't split. If the main clan were to find out about this, the consequences would be severe. Elder Shan frowned as he thought about it seriously. His branch of the Hong family was originally the main family's representative in the divine mainland. If their branch family didn't inform the main family and the main family found out, they would definitely be punished. Now that the Hong family isn't united, it's not a bad idea to move out. Those who still have feelings for the main residence can continue to live there. After all, this is the main residence of the Hong family in the godly land. As for those who have other plans, give them some money and let them leave Hong City. This way, we'll still be the main family of the Hong family on the divine continent, and we won't go against the purpose of the main family in the divine world. The first elder of the Hong family revealed his thoughts. Great elder, you mean that we're still us, but some of our clansmen have gone out to live alone? Elder Shan understood the great elder's meaning and confirmed. Yes, other than the clansmen who have left to live alone, we won't let outsiders know that our Hong family has already split. The first elder of the Hong family said. Chapter 1389, Bewildering Formation, 3. Great Elder, since you've already decided, well, do as you say. I have no objections. Elder Shan said. Elder Shan, it'll have to trouble you to handle this matter. It's not convenient for me to speak up about the separation of the family. I can only pretend that I don't know about it. Moreover, you must be very careful and tell them not to tell anyone that the Hong family has already separated. Otherwise, they will bear the consequences. The first elder of the Hong family reminded. Don't worry, Grand Elder. I know what to do. After Elder Shan finished speaking, he gave a slight bow to the first elder of the Hong family and left the ancestral hall. The Hong family was secretly splitting up. At this time, Lung Ruoxue and the others had arrived at Yanbei City. They went to the city lord's mansion to greet Yan Kuan and told him what had happened during this period of time. After that, she brought Yin Shao and the others into the nightmare forest. Walking in the nightmare forest and breathing in the fresh air, Yin Shao felt a sense of relaxation and peace that he had never felt before. As Lung Ruoxue and the rest arrived at the main residence that they had settled down on a mountain, Yin Shao and the rest stayed there temporarily. The evildoer felt extremely uncomfortable seeing people sticking themselves in between his shui and acting as a 1,000-watt light bulb. However, Shui was the one who invited them and he couldn't chase them away, so he was extremely depressed. Yin Shao seemed to know the evildoer's thoughts and appeared in front of them more frequently. Everyone had agreed to go hunting together. Yin Shao and the rest, who were already prepared, followed Lung Ruoxue and the others into the forest. However, as they walked, they realized that they had lost their way. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue and the others had disappeared too. What was going on? Could it be that the rabbits they encountered just now were the bait they set up to abandon them here? Yin Shao couldn't help but let his thoughts run wild. In fact, he had guessed correctly. The evildoer thought that he was too much of an eyesore, so he used the group of rabbits that ran into their sight to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Originally, they had wanted to chase after the group of rabbits together. However, the evildoer who was walking at the back had pulled Lung Ruoxue away when no one was paying attention. As for Ziyu and the rest, they had lived in the forest for a long time, so they were naturally not trapped by the maze in the forest. However, Yin Shao and the rest were different. It was their first time here and they were too focused on chasing after the rabbits. As a result, they were accidentally separated from Ziyu and the rest. Yin Shao and the rest, who were not very familiar with the forest, naturally lost their way. Young master, we're lost. There seems to be a maze formation here. After observing it carefully, Uncle Zhong came to an important conclusion. A bewildering formation? Could it be that Shui and the others set it up? Yin Shao's face was filled with curiosity. He wasn't dejected because he knew that Shui would definitely send someone to find them, so he wasn't worried at all. I don't know about that. However, we can't leave now. We can only wait for Miss Lung and the others to come and find us. Uncle Zhong said calmly. Well, since we're here, let's take things as they are. In that case, let's take a good look around here. I feel that this bewildering formation seems to be quite large. Yin Shao said with a face full of anticipation. The so-called bewildering formation was similar to a maze. They both had to find the exit. Otherwise, they would be trapped in the bewildering formation forever. Young master, be careful, Although there are formations here, they are all based on the actual situation of the place where the formation is set up. Thus, other than not being able to leave, everything here is real and there is a considerable amount of danger, so we must be on high alert. Uncle Zhong, who had a slight understanding of formations, recalled the characteristics of a bewildering formation and warned him very cautiously. Yes. Yin Xiao and the others nodded, and everyone carefully strolled through the maze. There was no lack of food in the maze because there were many small animals trapped in the maze. However, the small animals were quite adaptable and did not panic because they could not get out. After seeing Yin Xiao and the others, they continued to eat their food unhurriedly, while some were sleeping in their caves. As it was late autumn, the weather was rather cold. As a result, some of the beasts that were afraid of the cold had already chosen to sleep in their own caves. As for those beasts that were loitering outside, they did not have much intelligence and had a lower sense of danger. These beasts were also their best food choices. After wandering around the maze for a while, Yin Xiao and the rest sat on the ground. After starting a fire, they placed the rabbit and turkey meat that had been cleaned long ago on the fire to roast. Although the temperature inside the maze was not much different from the outside, the beasts living inside were obviously more comfortable. They had few natural enemies and would probably only eat and sleep every day. Therefore, these low-level beasts were all fat and strong. They were roasted on the fire for a while. The oil began to sizzle and drip onto the fire, creating small sparks. Yin Xiao's heart was filled with satisfaction as he smelled the meat's fragrance. Young master, if young lady Lung can't find us tonight, we can only spend the night here. After supper, Uncle Zhong warned Zhang Tai as he watched the gradually darkening sky. Uncle Zhong, tell them to set up the tents. I guess we'll have to spend the night here, Yin Xiao said. That jealous man would not let Shui find them so easily. Therefore, he resigned himself to his fate. All right, he said. Yes, sir. Uncle Zhong replied and then went to instruct his subordinates. Yin Xiao looked at the sky that was slowly turning dark and sat by the fire in a daze. From afar, Uncle Zhong saw his young master's condition and tactfully did not disturb him. Instead, he casually found a place to sit down and carefully observed Yin Xiao's reaction in secret. Yin Xiao, who was lost in his own thoughts, felt a bright gaze on him. He felt helpless and couldn't help but say, Uncle Zhong, why do you keep your eyes on me? In fact, there was one more thing that he didn't say in his heart, and that was, Uncle Zhong, your gaze makes my pear grow big. Young master, you're not young anymore, it's time for you to start a family. Uncle Zhong thought that his young master felt lonely after seeing them in pairs. Therefore, he couldn't help but put it in a serious way. Family? Forget it. Uncle Zhong, you know that I'm used to being free. Besides, I don't like those women who are as delicate as flowers. I don't have the time to coax them. Yin Xiao said with a headache. Then what kind of girl do you like? Tell Uncle Zhong. Uncle Zhong will keep an eye out for you. Uncle Zhong asked with an expectant look. Although he had watched the young master grow up, he didn't know what the young master was thinking about because the young master always greeted people with a smile and buried all his thoughts in his heart. If you can find me someone like Shui, I might consider it. Yin Xiao made it difficult for him. He knew that Uncle Zhong must have been incited by his grandfather to tell him this. Otherwise, Uncle Zhong wouldn't say this for no reason. Young master wanted to find someone as beautiful as Miss Lung? Uncle Zhong said with a troubled expression. He had lived in the firmament for many years and had a very high status in the Yin clan. He was also the most trusted person by the clan head's side. Hence, he had seen many young ladies from the direct line of descent from the top clans. However, no matter how much he thought about it, he had never thought that they would be on par with Lung Ruoxue. Those ladies seemed a little childish in front of Lung Ruoxue. Appearance, strength, and temperament must all be the same. If Uncle Zhong can find them, he'll marry and have a family as you wish. Yin Xiao promised, feeling proud of his own intelligence. He had arranged a task for Uncle Zhong, so Uncle Zhong didn't have time to target him. Actually, the reason why he wanted his future wife to be like Lung Ruoxue was just to find an excuse. He didn't want Uncle Zhong to be entrusted by others to nag about his marriage. He knew very well that it was impossible for Uncle Zhong to find a woman like Ling Ruoxue. After all, a woman like Ling Ruoxue was definitely one of a kind in this world. His request would definitely reach his grandfather's ears. He had no choice but to give up. Young master, aren't you making things difficult for your subordinates? I'm afraid that you might not be able to find someone with young Lady Ling's appearance and temperament even if you search the entire divine realm. As for someone with a similar strength to young Lady Ling, it would be easier. As Uncle Zhong was valued by his master, he was naturally very smart. How could he not hear the young master's intention to shirk responsibility? Uncle Zhong, do you know Shui Heir's real battle strength? Do you really think they are as good as their appearance? Yin Xiao raised his brows and asked. Uncle Zhong became dumbfounded. Yup. How could he forget that those people like to pretend to be pigs to eat tigers? It seemed that even if he wanted to find someone with the same strength as Miss Ling, there would be no chance. So he was a little dejected. Uncle Zhong, don't worry about my marriage, alas. I can only blame myself for knowing Shui, or for such a short time, we're not fated to be together. Yin Xiao pretended to be sad as he spoke. In fact, although he admired Shui, it was more of admiration because he knew that an outstanding woman like Shui was not someone ordinary men could control. Moreover, she already had someone she liked, so naturally he would not do anything to snatch her away. More importantly, he could not take her away. That evil man was like a beast protecting its food, guarding Shui Heir's side every day. Which man could get close to Shui? In addition, he had personally witnessed the evil man's murderous aura and shocking aura. He had no other thoughts. Now, he was already very satisfied that Shui could call him Big Brother Yin. He did not dare to expect too much because his mother had once said that one should know how to be content with what they have. Don't covet things that don't belong to you. That is the beginning of destruction. He had always kept his mother's wise words in mind. Young master, although Miss Ling is very outstanding, she really doesn't suit you. Uncle Zhong comforted his young master at once when he saw his young master was a bit sad. Uncle Zhong, don't urge me to get married in the future. I don't have that intention for the time being. Yin Xiao's face was filled with worry as he spoke. Chapter 1390, The Mysterious Valley, 1, Good. This subordinate will not mention it again. Young master, don't worry. Uncle Zhong hurriedly promised as he felt pretty guilty inside. He had accidentally touched on the young master's sad matter. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Yin Xiao was secretly overjoyed. Now, Uncle Zhong would not keep nagging him. He could finally have some peace. Actually, his words were half true and half false. It was true that he admired Shui and was a bit sad. However, it was not as serious as what Uncle Zhong imagined. After all, he had long adjusted his mentality and recognized the relationship between him and Shui. Therefore, of course, he would not seek for trouble and bring trouble to others. Perhaps, this was the difference between men and women in love. Of course, not all men could be so rational. Not all women would be as demanding as the Hong sisters and Yan Ling. Following that, Uncle Zhong changed the topic and talked about the situation of the divine realm. However, he kept mentioning a name, which made Yin Xiao a little uncomfortable. Yin Xiao furrowed his brows helplessly. He felt extremely helpless. Uncle Zhong must have done it on purpose. He was using that person's name to disgust him. Uncle Zhong, who had been talking nonstop, saw Yin Xiao's expression and laughed in his heart. He did it on purpose. Who asked the young master to deliberately make things difficult for him? Uncle Zhong. It's getting late, I'm going to sleep. Yin Xiao said hurriedly before running into his tent as if he was fleeing for his life. Is Miss Lan that scary? She's your cousin. Uncle Zhong couldn't help but mutter to himself as he watched Yin Xiao's back. In reality, the people of the firmament had very low requirements for sleep. Even though they would feel tired, they did not need to sleep every day. However, after spending time with Ling Ruoxue and the others, they seemed to have been infected by it and had developed the habit of sleeping every day. After leaving the two guardians of the night, Uncle Zhong also entered the tent. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue had also noticed that Brother Yin and the rest had fallen into a maze. Initially, she wanted to bring them out immediately. However, when she saw the demon acting pitiful again, her heart softened and she allowed him to do as he wished. After that, the demon's eyes were all smiles. Shui, they're all from the divine world. You don't have to worry about their safety. You should know that Uncle Zhong has hidden his true strength. In the room of the two, the demon said disapprovingly. Don't look at Uncle Zhong beside Yin Xiao. He always looked silly and honest, but in fact he was a real old fox. Yes, evildoers. Let's go and pick them up tomorrow morning. Lung Ruoxue tried to negotiate. After all, Brother Yin was a guest that she had invited. It didn't seem too good to trap a guest in a maze. Shui, let's keep observing. Maybe he's having fun. The demon laughed evilly. He knew that apart from training, Yin Xiao and the rest had come to the divine mainland to explore. Therefore, the forest was definitely one of their favorite places. Being trapped in a bewildering formation and unable to walk out, how can I enjoy it? The maze isn't very big, we'll reach the end in 2 days at most. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. She didn't think that Big Brother Yin and the others would be enjoying themselves. Then we should at least let them stay in the bewildering array for 2 days. Otherwise, they won't be able to finish their tour. The demon suggested. After hearing the demon's words, Lung Ruoxue's face was filled with black lines. Who would be in the mood to explore when trapped in a bewildering formation? Shui, let's not talk about that guy anymore. It's getting late. The demon said seriously, determined to defend his rights. Okay, then go to sleep. Lung Ruoxue sighed. The next morning, after Yin Xiao and the others had their breakfast, they wandered around the maze. According to Uncle Zhong's suggestion, it was best for them to wait at a fixed place for Miss Lung and the others to come and rescue them, in case they couldn't find them. However, Yin Xiao wanted to take a good look around the maze. After all, this was the first time he had seen the maze in his life. Along the way, Yin Xiao and the others left marks wherever they went. This was also to prevent them from not being able to return to the place where they had set up camp last night. After all, their tents were still there. Young master, from the looks of it, this maze formation wasn't small. We definitely won't be able to finish it in a day. Uncle Zhong sighed. It wasn't that he had never seen a bewildering formation before, but it was the first time he had seen such a large one. He really didn't know who had set up this bewildering formation. To be able to set up a bewildering formation of this size, the person's attainments in formation techniques were absolutely top-notch. It's fine. Didn't we leave a mark? If we can't finish today, well, continue tomorrow. Yin Xiao couldn't help but say. Yes, young master. Then he'll go back today. Looking at the weather, it might rain soon. Uncle Zhong warned Zhang Tai as he watched the gloomy weather. Then let's go back. This time, Yin Xiao did not object. Yin Xiao and the others followed the markings they left behind, and just as they walked back to the campsite, heavy rain poured down from the sky. Everyone quickly hid in their tents. Through the skylight of the tent, he could see the huge raindrops that were bubbling outside. Yin Xiao's mood was extremely relaxed. Drinking hot tea and listening to the sound of the rain outside, this kind of life was quite pleasant. However, he didn't want to be trapped in the maze for too long, because that could kill him. However, he had also guessed that the devilish man wouldn't ask Shui to find him so quickly, so he was very calm. Young master, it's a good thing we came back in time. Uncle Zhong said. Uncle Zhong, I heard that it feels very good to sleep on rainy days. How about going to bed too? Yin Xiao suggested. Young master, it's broad daylight now. Uncle Zhong helplessly said with black lines on his forehead. But it's raining outside now. What else can I do if not sleep? Yin Xiao's face was filled with question marks. Uncle Zhong didn't know how to answer Zhang Tai's question. In the bewildering array and in the rain, what else could he do if not sleep? Young master, then go to sleep. Uncle Zhong said in a soft voice, feeling helpless. After hearing Uncle Zhong's words, Yin Xiao immediately lay down. He had never slept in the rain before. He could finally experience it today. Chapter 1391, The Mysterious Valley, 2. However, when the rain passed and Yin Xiao woke up, he found that the one beside him was not Uncle Zhong, but a furry little beast. The little beast was curled into a half-sphere and its head was buried under its body. Judging from its size, it should not be very big. However, the little beast's fur was still half wet and stuck to him, so his clothes were also affected. The wet and sticky feeling made him very uncomfortable. Uncle Zhong. Yin Xiao extended a finger and poked the little beastie's body. He was still calling Uncle Zhong, but he was referring to this little beastie. At the same time, he couldn't help but think, how did Uncle Zhong become a little beastie? Is Uncle Zhong not a human being? Just as Yin Xiao's imagination was running wild, the real Uncle Zhong walked in. Uncle Zhong happened to hear Yin Xiao calling the little beast Uncle Zhong, who was snuggling up to him. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he stood still. He wanted to see what else the young master would say. Uncle Zhong, how did you turn into a little beast? Are you not human? Seeing that Uncle Zhong didn't respond for a long time, Yin Xiao couldn't help but say what he was thinking. After hearing that, Uncle Zhong couldn't help but burst out laughing. When Yin Xiao heard the laughter, he quickly turned his head and saw the Uncle Zhong from his memory standing at the door, looking at him with a helpless smile. Uncle Zhong. Seeing Uncle Zhong in person, Yin Xiao knew that he had made a huge mistake. His face instantly turned red from head to toe. At this moment he really wanted to find a hole to hide in. Woo! How could he do such an embarrassing thing? His words were heard by Uncle Zhong. He was too ashamed to face anyone. Young master. Uncle Zhong is not a non-human being. Uncle Zhong was neither angry nor annoyed, but he said happily. It was rare to see such a lovely appearance of the young master, so of course he had to tease him. Uncle Zhong. Yin Xiao felt so embarrassed that he couldn't face anyone anymore. However, what was up with this little beast that had caused him to misunderstand? His face was full of question marks. Who is it? Yin Xiao pointed at little beastie. I don't know. I don't even know how it got in. Uncle Zhong shrugged as he said helplessly. What do we do now? Yi Xiao was speechless. Not only was the little beast's fur half wet, but its body was also dirty. His clothes were not spared either. They'll throw it out. Uncle Zhong said after thinking for a while. Although he didn't know how this little beast came in, he thought it must be to take shelter from the rain. Now that the rain had passed, of course, it was unnecessary for this little guy to stay here. He even called it Uncle Zhong. After saying that, Uncle Zhong walked to the little beastie's side and was about to pick it up and take it out of the tent. Unexpectedly, the curled-up little beastie suddenly raised its head and opened its eyes to look at them. Uncle Zhong became stunned at a stroke because this little beast had a pair of fiery eyes, which were as beautiful as 2 pieces of top-quality rubies. Additionally, its eyes were crystal clear and misty. Apparently, it had heard all the words between Uncle Zhong and the young master. For a moment, Uncle Zhong didn't know what to do. Little fellow, since you're awake, why don't you tell us where you came from? Why are you in my tent? Yin Xiao looked at the pitiful, ruby-like eyes and hardened his heart. This little beast's appearance was too strange, so he had to find out. The little beastie blinked its eyes but didn't say anything. Little thing. It's useless to pretend to be deaf. Yin Xiao looked at little beastie, who was staring at them without saying a word, and reminded. Young master. This little fellow probably can't speak yet. Uncle Zhong said after observing it for a while. Uncle Zhong's words were immediately answered by little beastie. It nodded its head excitedly, its eyes glimmering with light, showing its excitement. It seems that Uncle Zhong is right. Yin Xiao said helplessly when he saw the little beastie's fawning look. Was a beastie that couldn't speak considered a young one? In the immortal realm, as long as a young beast with a noble bloodline was born, the weakest one was basically a holy beast, and looking at the clever appearance of this little beast, it naturally couldn't be the lowest level spirit beast, so it was really inconceivable that it couldn't speak, and was different from the rest. Little Beastie nodded its head at Yin Xiao's words. Uncle Zhong, what should we do with this little beast? Yin Xiao looked at Uncle Zhong and asked. The moment it heard the word, handle, the little beastie clutched Yin Xiao's sleeve tightly, its fiery red eyes revealing a pleading look. There's no point in acting pitiful. We can't keep you here. Yin Xiao said sigh. He didn't have the habit of taking care of children. Although Beastie was very independent from a young age and almost didn't need special care, it was still a very troublesome thing to take care of an underage little beast of unknown species. After hearing Yin Xiao's words, the little beastie actually began to cry. Bean-sized teardrops kept rolling down from its beautiful red eyes. Don't cry, Yin Xiao said helplessly. Damn it, if it cried like this, people who didn't know the inside story would think that he had bullied this little beast. Fortunately, there were no outsiders here. Otherwise, his reputation would be in jeopardy. Young master, let's keep it for the time being. When we leave, we'll just give it to Miss Lung. Uncle Zhong suggested helplessly. They did not have a fixed residence, so it was really not suitable for them to bring such a small beast on the road. Moreover, he had observed it for a long time but could not figure out what kind of species this fox-like little beast was. It was really too strange. Therefore, he wanted to keep this little beast for further observation. With Uncle Zhong's words, the little beastie that had suddenly appeared was left behind. After knowing that it wouldn't be driven away, the little beastie's mood became more relaxed, and it stuck even closer to Yin Xiao. Wherever Yin Xiao went, the little beast would follow. It did not leave his side at all. After Yin Xiao ordered his men to clean the little beast, he was surprised to find that it was quite beautiful. It had long, snow-white fur and a pair of ruby-like eyes, making it stand out. After being trapped in the Bewildering formation for 3 days, they had already walked around the entire formation. However, none of them were familiar with the formation. Thus, even if they walked through the entire formation, they could not find the formation's eye, and naturally could not leave the Bewildering formation. Chapter 1392, The Mysterious Valley, 3. Sitting by the fire, Yin Xiao didn't say a word. However, his heart was filled with Lung Ruox's forsaking of friends after seeing a lover. Why hasn't Shui come to find them yet? Could she have forgotten about them? Little Beastie, who had been with Yin Xiao for a few days, could feel its temporary master's low mood. It jumped into his arms and rubbed against him to comfort him. Then, it jumped away from Yin Xiao's arms and ran a few steps forward. It turned around and looked at Yin Xiao and the others. Haven't you spun enough? You still want to go out? Yin Xiao looked at Little Beastie, who clearly wanted them to follow him, and said helplessly. Little Beastie nodded and stared at Yin Xiao with its fiery red eyes. Little guy, it's going to get dark soon, so we're not going out today. Yin Xiao reminded. Xiao Budian was the name he had given this little beast. Who asked it to be so small? Although Little Beastie had protested, he had ignored it. Seeing this, Little Beastie didn't give up and ran back to Yin Xiao's side. It bit his pants and dragged him forward. Looking at the little beastie's reluctance to part, Uncle Zhong smiled helplessly and said, Young master. Since the little guy is so persistent, he might have discovered something. Why don't we follow him and take a look? All right then. With Uncle Zhong interceding for Xiao Budian, Yin Xiao naturally wouldn't refuse. When the little beastie heard its temporary master agree, it meowed at Uncle Zhong as if to say, Thank you for interceding for me. Ha! This little one is quite interesting. Uncle Zhong said with a big smile at the sight of Xiao Budian. This little fellow is very cunning. Yin Xiao said helplessly. Don't think that this little thing can't talk. She's very smart. Following that, Xiao Budian walked in front and led the way while Yin Xiao and the rest followed behind. Xiao Budian brought Yin Xiao and the others to a cave that was half the height of a person. He indicated for them to enter while he ran in first. Little guy, don't run around. Seeing Xiao Budian run in, Yin Xiao hurriedly called out. Young master, let's go in and take a look. Uncle Zhong said. Yes. Yin Xiao nodded his head. Even though he had not spent much time with Xiao Budian, he still liked this little thing. If he were to encounter any danger in the cave, his heart would still ache for him. Immediately after, Yin Xiao left 2 subordinates outside the cave to receive them while he brought Uncle Zhong and the others into the cave. The 2 loyal subordinates stood guard outside the cave. However, Yin Xiao and the others did not come out until the next morning. This made the 2 of them anxious. Why haven't the young master and the others returned yet? It's been an entire night. A subordinate said. "I'll go in and take a look, you stay here and guard." After another subordinate finished speaking, he was about to walk into the cave. "Wait, I'll go with you," the previous subordinate said. He was not willing to stay outside alone in fear. Moreover, he did not dare to imagine how furious the family head would be if something happened to the young master and the others. He was afraid that he would not be able to explain it to the family head even if he died. "If we both go in, who's going to report to the master?" The subordinate who was about to go in warned with his eyes wide open. "Then be careful," the subordinate from before warned. "Yes." The subordinate who was about to enter nodded. However, before he could enter, he heard a familiar voice. Where did Big Brother Yin go? Just as Lung Ruoxue finished her sentence, she had already arrived in front of them. She brought the demon and the rest into the maze to look for Brother Yin and the rest. However, they only saw the tents that they had set up, but they were nowhere to be seen. After searching for a while, they only found Brother Yin's 2 subordinates. Miss Ling, the young master, and Uncle Zhong brought people into this cave. Before they went in, the young master ordered us to guard here. However, it has been a night and they have not come out. One of his subordinates explained worriedly. After hearing what Brother Yin's subordinate said, Lung Ruoxue lifted her beautiful eyes and sized up the unremarkable cave. From the outside, there was nothing special about this small cave. Furthermore, it was obvious that it had been abandoned for a long time. Why did Brother Yin suddenly come here? She really couldn't understand it. "Big Brother Yin, what are you doing in this cave?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a face full of question marks. Young master didn't want to go in at first. "It was a small beast that brought us here." That small beast ran in, and young master and the others followed it in. The subordinate explained. "Aren't there many little beasts here? Is it not enough for you?" Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with puzzlement. She had lost her way while chasing after her prey. In her memory, no one else had ever done such a thing except for Big Brother Yin. It's not a little beastie that eats. It's a little beast that the young master has adopted. The Yin family's subordinate saw that Lung Ruoxue had misunderstood and quickly explained. Oh! Lung Ruoxue finally understood. It seemed that Brother Yin and the others were really enjoying themselves, as the evildoer said. He was trapped in the bewildering formation, but he still had the heart to take care of the little beastie. Miss Lung, young master, and the rest have gone in for a long time and have not come out. What should we do? The Yin family's subordinate asked helplessly. Let's go in and take a look. Lung Ruoxue glanced at the demon. Then let's go in together. The other subordinate hurriedly said. N. Lung Ruoxue nodded and pulled the demon in. The light in the cave was very dim, and the smell of dry soil inside reminded everyone that this place had been deserted for a long time. Lung Ruoxue lit up a flame and lit up the cave in an instant. It was only then that everyone realized that there were many totems carved on the stone walls of the cave. Each of the totems had a few beasts that looked like foxes carved on it. These beasts were huge in size, and although they had different forms, they all looked extremely arrogant. Their eyes had an aura that seemed to look down on the world. The beasts on the totems were of different colors, but they all had one thing in common. That was, every beastie had a pair of beautiful fiery red eyes. If she hadn't come here, Lung Ruoxue would never have thought that there would be a place like this in her territory. If she wasn't wrong, there should have been a group of beasts living here. From the looks of it, the beasts that had once lived here had either moved away or gone extinct. Other than that, there was no other possibility. Chapter 1393, The Mysterious Valley, 4. Do you guys know what kind of beastie this is? Lung Ruoxue asked Ziyu and the others as she observed the stone wall. She looks like a fox. The moon eye said as it looked at Shueying. They're not foxes. Shueying was very certain. Although the beasts on the stone walls were only totems, they gave off an extremely powerful aura. The fox race rarely had such an aura. They were more skilled in charm and confusion techniques. Then what are they? Yu Jing's face was filled with curiosity. As a soul-gnawing beast with inherited memories, she was extremely ashamed, because she did not recognize these beasts on the stone wall. In her eyes, they were all foxes. Young Miss Ling, the beast on this stone wall is a little similar to the little beast that brought my young master and the others in. At this time, the Yin family's subordinate finally spoke after recovering from his shock. Are you sure? Lung Ruoxue raised her brows and asked calmly. Yes. However, the little beast that brought young master and the others here should not be an adult yet. It doesn't have the aura that these beasts in the totems have. The subordinate said. Shui, since this is the little beast's territory, let's continue walking in. The demon suggested after hearing the Yin family's subordinate's words. All right. Lung Ruoxue replied. Then, the group continued to walk deeper into the cave. Unknowingly, they walked further and further, and there were more and more totems on the stone walls. However, they were all about the beast race. Although the totems were carved very vividly, there were many that they could not understand. After walking for an unknown distance, Lung Ruoxue and the rest finally arrived before a huge golden door. Looking at the tightly shut golden door, Lung Ruoxue hesitated for a moment. In the end, she pushed the door open and walked in, while the others followed closely behind. With a flash of white light, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were transported to a courtyard. At this moment, everyone suddenly realized that the golden door was actually a transportation array. But where were they? They were currently in a valley filled with the chirping of birds and the fragrance of flowers. The scenery in the valley was extremely beautiful and the climate was pleasant. The warm and gentle wind blew on everyone's bodies, making them feel extremely comfortable. Not only that, but the little beasts in the valley didn't seem to be afraid of people. After seeing them, they only sniffed them curiously and ignored them. Moreover, this valley was very large and one could not see the end of it. Let's go over there and look for it. Lung Ruoxue pointed to a small path on her left. Even though she did not know if Brother Yin and the rest were in the valley, they could not return empty-handed. Furthermore, the strange thing was that Green Vessel was unable to monitor this place. Naturally, it would be impossible for them to investigate the situation here. Yes. No one had any objections to Lung Ruoxue's decision. The group walked along the small path on the left. Lung Ruoxue saw that there were quite a number of herbs here, so she moved Qiu out of her bracelet. Once Qiu was out, it flew around the valley very happily. However, when it encountered precious natural treasures, it would not forget to remind them. Miss, this place is so big. When can we reach the end? After a long time, Yuqing couldn't help but complain. Calm down, we'll be at the end soon, Lung Ruoxue consoled him helplessly. Actually, she didn't know how long she had been waiting for them to leave. However, it was a good thing that there were many herbs that she really needed growing here. Otherwise, she would have been frustrated as well. Not long after Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, a house appeared before everyone's eyes, as if to verify her words. The exterior of the house was made entirely of stone, but the interior was rather luxurious. The entire floor was paved with polished black crystal stones. The black crystal stones emitted a dense spiritual qi, so Lung Ruoxue could tell with a single glance that they were dark attribute crystal stones. Furthermore, they were of the highest quality. The surrounding walls were all colorless and semi-transparent crystals, also emitting a strong natural energy. Lung Ruoxue squinted her beautiful eyes and looked at the semi-transparent walls around her. She was speechless. If she remembered correctly, the crystal stones on the walls should be the attribute-less crystal stones that were long extinct as mentioned in the information left behind by her master. All these crystal stones were of the highest quality. He really didn't know what kind of people or beasts once lived here. It was really too extravagant. Even though she had quite a few good things in her hands, she was not willing to use top-grade crystals as the floor or the wallpaper. It seemed that compared to the previous owner of this place, she was still very poor. So, when she thought of this, Lung Ruoxue felt depressed. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.